Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. We're here. Welcome to the Spice Bowl. Now, you may have seen from our stream starting soon screen that this is not just any $2,000 cash prize Pokemon Go tournament. No, instead, with a wonderful meta development team who we could not have done this without. You know who you are. Big thank you to you. We have built a limited meta. We have 69 Pokemon that have been banned. So many of the Pokemon that you're used to seeing on these regional streams, they can't use them. And some other mons we just banned because we didn't like them very much. I'm looking at you, Machoke. So we've banned quite a few Pokemon, and we've brought together some of the best battlers the world has to offer. Trainers from all around the world, absolutely everywhere, from all corners, all time zones, are competing to decide who will take home the crown as the Spice Bowl champion. My name is Homeslice Henry, and I am not alone here today. I am joined by the one and only, the esteemed, the wonderful caster, Mr. Speediest Chief himself. Welcome in, Speedy.
Dude, what's up, Henry? I really can't, I don't even know what to say to that intro. That was incredible. Thank you so much for the kind words, and I'm really excited to get into this tournament. Like you said, 69 Pokemon were banned, and I saw chat popping off about which Pokemon were banned. Sometimes you ban something, and there are ripple effects, and other things become strong. And we were about to live in a world where Machoke and Shadow Machoke were really strong. So we wanted to get rid of him and open the doors for some other Pokemon. And these teams are honestly wild. I cannot wait to get into this.
Yeah, with all of these like top tier Pokemon banned, and as you rightfully mentioned, a lot of spot bans as well, it opens the door to a wide variety of Pokemon. Maybe Pokemon that have always had solid movesets but aren't quite able to compete with the power level of the current meta. Or maybe some old meta titans that were kind of reined in a little bit in previous seasons, but now that some of the new meta threats are gone, they'll have a chance to emerge. So the thing that excited me most, taking a look at the teams that we have today, is there was an incredible diversity and variety in the different teams that were used. We weren't seeing one Pokemon run away with the field, which I think is a huge credit to our meta development team, but rather we're seeing a lot of really smart trainers throwing a lot of different strategies. So we're going to see which ones end up being victorious.
One of my favorite rules, Henry, was that we just straight up banned Wigglytuff. Like from the jump, no matter where it was ranked, we're like, all right, Wigglytuff, you are not going to be in this tournament. Our meta team did a great job, as you pointed out a couple times. I wanted to give a little rundown of some of the usage statistics here. This was actually really insightful. The top 15 Pokemon. I'm just going to say this verbally. Everyone can kind of visualize this because we will see these picks on the teams. Number one in usage was Togetic, followed by Dusclops, and then Greninja. The fourth most used Pokemon in this entire tournament with over 200 players, Henry, was Hakamo-o, which is insane, right? We had Florges, followed by Goodra, Walrein, Hisuian Quillfish, Fortress, Magcargo coming in at over 15%, Shadow, Swampert, Cresselia, Melmetal, Whiscash, and Skeledirge as our top 15. That is a Spice Bowl if I've ever heard one.
I couldn't agree more. And it sounds like even the top usage Pokemon was not used on an overwhelmingly large amount of teams. Like, we're not talking Metacham 90% like at Worlds 2023 here. Like, Hakamo-o in fourth, pretty crazy. We also had Walrein. Walrein and Florges were two Pokemon that I was really keeping my eye on as we saw the team registrations roll in. Because I really felt like Walrein, it used to be an absolute meta titan. Obviously, it did have its Icicle Spear checked a little bit, but with some of these like top threats gone, I think Walrein could put a serious dent in a lot of teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think the coverage is insane when you look at ice and ground type coverage on a single Pokemon, especially Icicle Spear, which is an above average attack. It's better than Weather Ball and it costs less energy than Avalanche. Very useful attack. Like you pointed out, the cores are something that we definitely kept an eye on when we were doing our meta development. And to answer your question, the most used Pokemon, Togetic, is under 50% usage.
Wow.
That's how diverse, how fresh, how unique these teams are. There's like 10 to 12 unique Pokemon in every single matchup we're going to see today.
And not only are we going to be seeing a bunch of unique Pokemon, but we're going to be seeing like when thanks to our wonderful sponsors Rio and PV Poke, we were able to have this cash prize. We had the hope that it was going to attract some top talent, and that it most definitely did. We have former world champions competing, international champions. I tried prior to the stream to tally up the total number of regionals won by all the competitors. And Speedy, you know what happened? I gave up. There were too many. There were too many. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the math. I couldn't. So we have an absolutely stacked field. We have a really cool, interesting meta, and I'm really excited to see what trainers are able to emerge on top, and can these top trainers still compete when the Pokemon that they're used to using are suddenly not allowed?
Yeah, great question. We have regional champions like Elite, in Flames fan. We also had Eng Helper, which I know is a Go Battle League legend as well. It's always climbing the leaderboards. This was an incredible mix. And what a lot of trainers are going to find when they look at the bracket is that we've got trainers, especially from Asia, in the Asia Pacific region and the Oceania region, that are really excelling in this tournament. And maybe some Europeans also did pretty well. We know they're no strangers to the spice. But Henry, I wanted to ask you this. We're going to see, I think it was 10 different matches or 10 different sets of battles today. And these are handpicked, right? By yours truly, everyone. Home Slice Henry, he hand selected some of the most hyped battles because, again, 244 players. We can't show them all, but we're going to do our very best to show you the best of the best.
And we do have some truly incredible matchups that we're going to be showing today. We kind of teased it with regional champions, international champions. We have the best of the best competing. And in a stacked field like this, looking across even just the round one pairings, some of the time he was like, how is this not Worlds? Like, how is this just a community run tournament? But we're going to be starting off here, taking a look at our bracket. For day number 2 on the winner's side of the bracket, Existing Monkey versus Firestar, the Pokemango versus Galax Bolton, Leaf Tornado Superior Fan Extraordinaire, a pretty young but extremely talented trainer from Malaysia, YYDS and Holy, facing off against regional champion PvP David, and a clash of titans, Zardi versus Zilus.
Exactly, man. You've heard of the double Ds. Well, we got the double Zs in that winner's side bracket between Zardi and Zilus. I'm so excited to see that one in particular. Zardi is one of the best trainers in all of LATAM and Brazil, especially. And Zilus actually posted about this tournament on his social account and said, I tried to recreate the vibes of my Worlds team in this team for the Spice Bowl. So I'm really excited to see what he's been cooking. I'm not sure if we want to take a look at that loser side bracket for day number 2 as we kick things off, because we have even more trainers joining us. We're going to see S. James P taking on Leo 6 Leo, Executor versus Out of Pocket. I swear, Henry, we can't get Out of Pocket out of the bracket, man. He's like, he's all over every single tournament that I'm a part of. We got Jocks versus Vroom Vroom Pal, one of the best trainers in all of India and former Sylph world champion. And then we've got Beelzeboy versus Yodata. And you remember Beelzeboy was 4th overall in Worlds in Hawaii.
Yeah, Beelzeboy was incredible at the World Championships. Yodata, an incredible trainer as well. So even on the loser side of the bracket, we have many regional champions, a former Sylph World Champion. We have a former Sylph World Champion casting as well. So we got a lot of experienced battlers, whether it's in the casting booth or battling. As I mentioned, we started with 244 trainers. So we have now whittled it down to a top 16, and we're going to be showcasing some of the best matchups from day 2 as we build towards the finals here. Winners finals, losers finals, grand finals, all best of 5. And what's at stake here? There's a pretty big cash prize. We're talking in total prizes, $2,000, including $1,000 straight up for the winner. That's a lot of money, Speedy.
I'm telling you, man, that's like a top 4 to regional walking away with this kind of money. So again, thank you to our generous sponsors, PV Poke and Rio. I know that PV Poke also put up the rankings for these Pokemon for this meta on the website. So trainers are going to PV Poke, checking out the rankings, seeing what the matchups were, helping them to build their teams. A really interesting phenomena happened as well, Henry. I'm sure this happened in your server. I saw this in Orac and other Scrims servers. Basically, all of the tags for Scrims when this tournament came out switched over to Spice Bowl scrims.
Yeah, people were really taking it seriously. We intentionally waited to have the announcement pretty close to the start of the tournament, wanting it to kind of be able to build off the immediate excitement of it came out of nowhere. You only have a few short days to prepare, so you have to get a lot of practice in those few short days. So those like practice servers for regionals, because we hosted day 1 and day 2 on a rare weekend with no regionals. We found one. It was very hard to do, but we managed to find a weekend with no regionals, and from there it ended up rolling where there were so many people trying new teams out, scrimming with each other. I know, as you mentioned, in Orac, it was non-stop pings of people trying to get practice and see if they can build a winning strategy for this limited time meta.
Yeah, exactly right. It was really, really poetic to see that. And as you said, there's so many things going on the weekends, whether it's a Pokemon Go event like Go Fest, or it's a regional championship, or whatever it might be. People's calendars are really full. So we're really grateful to all the trainers that participated, competed that weekend. Maybe if they even had other plans to celebrate with family, they said, hold on, just let me play my matches real quick, and I'll be right back. And also shout out to Miss Mystic as well for running our production today. Obviously could not do this without her, so I'm really excited. But Henry, I know we've got some hype battles. I think we've been vamping a little while. We gave everyone a chance to kind of get into the room. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to say, or if we should see some battles.
Honestly, I'm just excited to see the battles because we've got some unbelievable names. We've got some really cool teams that we've kind of been teasing, and we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about those teams. But as we take a look at our first matchup here, we will have the opportunity to do so.
All right, let's see. We're going to have Zilus, I believe, taking on CO is a Beast. If I'm not mistaken, this was our Group F finals. So this is going to be interesting. Dude, Henry, what is Zilus cooking? There's so many gators and fangs and claws on his team. I don't even know what's happening.
Shadow Gyarados staring down a Hakamo'o here. And it looks like we are cutting back there. Okay, here we go. We're back. All right, Shadow Gyarados into Hakamo'o. Now, this is a pretty interesting matchup. Obviously, the Dragon Breath will be able to super effective damage, but Hakamo'o does have the pacing advantage. Dragon Claw, a lot more threatening than an Aqua Tail.
Yeah, this really reminds me of like playing Goodra versus other dragons. That Gyarados can only hit with the Aqua Tail on pacing and the Dragon Claw. You see the Dragon Breath so quickly, trying to get the full farm down. The Dragon Breath, can he do it? Oh, actually pulls the trigger into the and he gets the Mud Slap through.
Oh, couldn't quite get that farm down. That farm down would have been very, very nice. And here now we see actually Cresselia answering the Crocodile. And Crocodile is going to be firing off the Crunch.
Sorry, I called it Crocodile is going to go ahead and hit this Crunch against the Cresselia, but already we've seen some of the most insane matchups. I don't know how much chat's expecting for you and I to know who wins these shielding scenarios, but we're going to do our best. Maybe confident he can hang on through the grass slot. I have my doubts, though. Zilus does faint there.
Yeah, not going to be able to hang on, but this potentially sets up reverse farm for Crocalore, as Crocalore is going to be more than happy to absorb this damage and commit to a full farm down. This is where the desyncing of the switch timers by catching that move ends up being really nice, as Crocalore ends up getting 60 free energy farming down Cresselia.
Insane string of words to put into a tournament cast, but here we are going to go for one more Incinerate. This is actually going to be a Hex, Ice Punch, and Shadow Punch Dusclops. Here comes Crunch.
Dusclops quite bulky, but it is at a significant disadvantage here. It's so far behind in terms of energy. There is, of course, still available that Hakamo'o for a potential catch, but no catch coming through here for CO, and he's gonna no shield, as this is super effective damage onto that Dusclops.
Massive Crunch coming through. Shadow Punch is loaded up and ready to go. But you know what? This Crocalore is actually bulkier than it looks. There is a chance that Zilus lets this through, wants a bunch of the HP, though, and uses the shield.
Dusclops will outpace here. He tries for the catch and he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. The patience from Zilus, and now he gets to unleash the Crunch at the Dusclops, and failing that catch, CO realizes he's in quite a bit of trouble there, as down goes Dusclops.
Yeah, a little much too work to do for the remaining Pokemon there from CO. Zilus is able to take that game number 1. If I remember right, Henry, I think he actually did play that Shadow Gyarados at Worlds, and the Crocalore might be inspiration for Skeledirge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe he had mentioned that he had tried to recreate that Worlds team from Worlds 2024 as best as he could with obviously the constraints of this meta where a lot of stuff is banned. So Skeletor is banned. He's opting for Crocalore. He has Zilus there, and looks like with him up 1-0, he's now going to lead the Crocalore, and it finds a target here in Melmetal.
All right, good tactic advantage for the fire type members in the 6 orbits and the best spots. Relatively predictable, especially considering that it's unlikely that Zilus would win this from Caesar.
All right, it looks like Crunch is going to be no shielded here.
Crunch connecting into that dust glob, scouting a ton of energy now, up to the double, back-to-back shadow punches, fires the first one here. Crocalore looks pretty sturdy. I think he can take it.
Yeah, Shadow Punch not going to be a huge problem there, but for Dusclops, it's all about pacing. The pacing, very, very fast, able to outspam the Crocalore here. And this Shadow Punch, while not lethal, is going to get the Crocalore deep into the red.
Exactly, but look at that big incinerate down from Zilus, and now he's got his choice of targets. Disarming Voice for that Hakamo if it comes out. He's also got the Crunch for some neutral damage into that Melmetal. Let's see what he decides to do.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're forced into the Melmetal because Hakamo'o would have to shield the Disarming Voice. So we are going to see the Crunch connect. Even the Crunch does quite a lot. Melmetal hoping for a farm down, gets the farm down, but the Incinerate is going to register. And now in comes Cresselia. And this is where, if this was next season, Double Iron Bash would be doing a little bit of extra damage. But this season, it doesn't quite have the damage that you would want in this matchup.
Exactly, and we're living in a world here, Henry, where you bring a Cresselia into a Melmetal matchup. That's the kind of position we're in the Spice Bowl. Moonblast coming through here. I think this will be close to KOing, so we do see the shield from CO.
This is a really tough spot for CO because he again brought the Hakamo'o, but with the line that ZZ brought, ZZ intentionally running very strong into that Hakamo'o and really just not leaving it like it really just has nowhere to go. Like where are you gonna put the Hakamo'o? There's the Dragon Breath on the Shadow Gyarados. Cresselia hits for super effective as well. This is really tough.
Absolutely. Double Iron Bash coming through. This is supposed to be like the 4th Double Iron Bash we've seen of this sequence here, and it makes sense given the amount of farm that CO was able to do. No shield. Do we see a pivot now from Zilus? No, he doesn't want to take any Thundershock damage on that Gyarados.
And this Cresselia, it's potentially at a range where we could see a farm down as we're going to see the Moonblast pick up the KO, but can the Dragon Tails from Hakamo'o pick up the knockout here? He's not going to risk it. He's going to send in the Shadow Gyarados, transfers the Dragon Breath in for Hakamo'o. Maybe he can go for a Brick Break farm down here. It's going to be tough, but no, instead opting for the Dragon Claw.
That's so tricky, right? Because when you use your charge attack there as the Hakamo'o, you allow an additional Dragon Breath through, and when your HP is the most valuable resource, you really can't afford to do it, but you got to find a way. Goes for the Dragon Claw, but can't get there.
Unfortunate for CO. He was in a tough spot where he just needed to be able to farm everything down with the Hakamo'o, and the Cresselia, even in a matchup where it's completely walled, the Crocalore just generated such an advantage in that matchup that even with the Melmetal being pretty well positioned to the back line, it just wasn't quite enough to be able to pull off that win.
Exactly. We saw a couple of patented Zilus style plays as well. For example, swapping in such a way that he's able to get the fast attack through as well. He did that in game number 1. We saw him do that in competitive play at EUIC and also at Worlds. So I think we're going to see more plays like that as we move through the tournament because these trainers are at such a high skill level and they're making these spicy picks do some amazing work.
Crocalore, when I first looked at the meta, it was not something I was necessarily expecting to put in work, but it honestly felt like Crocalore was just kind of able to run away with it both games, where the reverse farm of the Cresselia in the game number 1, and then in game 2 against the Dusclops, just feeling so incredibly safe that even though Dusclops switched in and can outpace, Crocalore tanked 2 Shadow Punches, Hex doesn't do a lot, and was just really able to basically chew through almost 2 full Pokemon just by itself.
Yeah, I don't want to, take too much credit for something like this, but I do recall pairing against Zeus Wireless in a Go Battle League matchup using Crocalore and getting a rare win against one of the Titans. So maybe I inspired him to do it, but probably not. It's probably just a Skeledirge side grade. But yeah, I'm impressed with Crocalore a lot. I'm curious if we'll see it. And as we called out in the intro, Henry, we didn't even see Crocalore in the top 15 usage. I mean, it's below 10% usage, and it's on a former regional champions team.
So somehow, even though we've built a meta around spice and like, hey, spice should be the main thing that people use,
Yeah.
somehow he's still finding the spice in the spice. I don't know how that's possible, but he's making it happen because a lot of the Pokemon on his team like were Pokemon that weren't even in the top usage in this tournament as well. So it's very cool to see that even in a format where we banned 69 odd Pokemon, he's still able to find underused and like undervalued Pokemon there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of this comes down to understanding core breaking potential. I know our friends in the EU are very, very good at that. You see a lot more like Abomasnow, for example, in EU tournaments of past because they're trying to break up these typing pairs, trying to wedge themselves between these really synergistic duos and trios that we see on these teams of 6. So yeah, again, finding not just the spice cabinet, right, but actually reaching way back into the spice cabinet and finding some forgotten tricks. But I'm really excited for the next round. I'm excited for the next round of battles. Let's see who we've got up, Henry.
Looks like I believe it's going to be Galax Bolton up next. Regional champion, well known for his Leaf Tornado Superior here. But as we take a look, he actually has a Servine with Leaf Tornado on his team instead of Superior. But for the leads, we have Goodra staring down Hakamo'o.
Ooh, and a catch again. These Hakamo'os are getting caught on all tournament long so far. Going into, is that a normal cast form, Henry?
It is a normal cast form. I honestly forgot about normal cast form, but it does have Hex, so it is going to have really good energy generation. It looks like we do see Pokemango opting for the double Weather Ball strat with Weather Ball Normal, and for coverage, Weather Ball Rock.
I'm looking at the team here, and I think that this normal cast form actually makes a lot of sense going up against Galax Bolton's trio, and he's taking a lot of Hex damage, but he goes for a Brick Break into the normal type. I think this will knock out, even though it's not the most powerful attack.
There's some energy available for Mango. He is going to preserve this energy, shielding up the Brick Break. The debuff comes through. Cast form pays a heavy price, but was able to remove Hakamo'o from the field. And now in comes Servine.
Dude, what in the heck? I think I remember playing Servine like back in 2021 Silph Continentals or something. It's been a long time since I've seen this grass type. And now the Goodra pounces in, but it doesn't have anything that it can hit the Servine with for super effective.
Yeah, this is awkward because this is an open team sheet format. So for Galax, he knows he does not have to fear any of the charge moves here. Pokemango is just trying to get through the bulky Servine at whatever cost. Servine firing off a charge attack, and we are going to see the no shield from Pokemango. It is going to be the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot, while not being enough to knock out, could potentially set up a farm down for the Dusclops.
Dusclops comes in, gets 2 hexes through, looking for the third, but not before the Aqua Tail is going to connect here. And you know that there's a very weak Goodra, a very weak normal cast form. So basically comes down to this third Pokemon, which looks like a Walrein.
Walrein will be a bit interesting because Walrein, of course, has a very nice ability to absorb the hits from the Dusclops, but Dusclops' pacing advantage, even if Walrein can survive 2 Shadow Punches, I think Dusclops is definitely reaching more than 2 Shadow Punches. So this is a bit of an uphill battle for Mango here.
Yeah, also switch timer ticking down, maybe about 15 seconds or so left for Galax Bolton on the left side of your screen, so he can reach for that sacrificial swap. We're going to see another Shadow Punch come through. Still no shield from the Pokemango.
He is opting to just absorb hit after hit on the Walrein, taking advantage of the fact that Walrein has a monstrous bulk. Here we see Galax throwing on alignment here, maybe anticipating that Mango would go for 4 Powder Snows and a catch. So he switches up the timing, catches Mango off guard, and is able to force that shield.
Forcing the shield. He's at back-to-back Icicle Spears here, so these shields are going to go down quick. First one coming through here. Galax Bolton obviously forced his shield. He cannot reach for that Servine just yet. Going to go for another Hex, another Icicle Spear coming through. 2 shields down.
This is a tough spot to be in because Galax, I believe, now has the move for Mango. Does he decide to switch here? Does he wait? He switches. He gets the catch of the Shadow Punch. The cast form, this double resists it, but it's low enough that it will probably be enough to knock out. Can Wall Rain reverse sweep here? No, the cast form hangs on and makes it to its double Weather Ball.
You gotta be kidding me. It hangs on through that Shadow Punch, gets to the charge attack, and is able to, oh, it doesn't even KO the Dusclops. And now we see the Wolverine come back in. Servine's still in the back. Icicle Spear is loaded.
Does Servine have a move? It does not. And my goodness, the catch from Pokemango. He's able to pull magic out of a hat in that game. Beautiful catch. And I mean, that cast form was so low. I know Shadow Punch is double resisted, Speedy, but I was like, surely there's no way it survives. And it survived. I'm just at a loss. It survived. It landed the Weather Ball rock to put it into farm down range. Beautifully played.
Yeah, it did survive, and don't call me Shirley. But no, seriously, that was incredible. That was incredible that it was able to hang on. We know that those double resistances are so rare, especially with kind of like the lack of normal types in the meta. Right now, you've got Furret, probably the premier normal type. We might be seeing Lickitung resurface now that Rap is getting that buff coming up here in just a few short days. But it's really strange to see something like a normal cast form, and Dusclops, we know, does not have the highest attack stats. So yeah, it was insane that it was able to hang on. And Servine, unfortunately, as funny as it is, as cheesy it is, as bulky as it wasn't able to close out that game for Galax either.
Yeah, Servine. I mean, to be fair, Galax is well known for clicking a Leaf Tornado, and he clicked, I believe it was Energy Ball or Grass Knot, whatever grass move Servine has that isn't Frenzy Plant. So maybe in these other games, if he ends up bringing it, but clicks the Leaf Tornado, because that's what he's known for in that regional win. He was nonstop with the debuffs, and it looks like here we have a bit of a switch up in strategy. Dusclops for Galax, but we have a Fortress for Mango.
All right. Look, the back lines are also interesting. We see that Hakamo-O as well as the Fortress for Galax, and in the backside we have that normal cast form making a return. I'm not sure how well you are on your Dusclops versus Fortress matchups, but I think Dusclops has a slight edge here.
I would imagine so, just off the pacing. However, if there's anyone who's going to know their Fortress matchups, it is going to be Speedy over here. So Speedy, well known for his love of Fortress. Now we see the banking of the energy, the safe switch into the cast form answered with Hakamo-O.
Hakamo comes in, starts to deploy that Dragon Tail damage, but meanwhile, the normal cast form will strike back with a Weather Ball, I believe. Yeah, normal type Weather Ball does connect into the Hakamo-O, dealing meaningful damage, and I would be surprised if we don't see the Brick Break first here.
Another Weather Ball normal coming out, though, and this is genuinely pretty solid damage. One more, and Hakamo-O is not going to make it. So it looks like that Mango's strategy here is to try and bait out this Hakamo-O, and then he has the Goodra in the back, as Goodra can provide a lot of pressure once Hakamo-O's off the field.
Going up for another Weather Ball. This will be enough to knock out. So if Galax wants control switch advantage, he needs to shield, and that's exactly what he does. I think this next Dragon Tail going through will be enough to KO the normal cast form, and now he might be able to even throw a charge attack at the next Pokemon.
Ooh, in comes Hakamo-O. Sorry, in comes the Fortress into the Hakamo-O. Yeah. Brick Break is going to be launched here. Not going to be enough to pick up the knockout. There's the switch into the Goodra and the snipe down. Again, all that energy still saved on the Fortress. In comes the bulky Dusclops.
Oh, I like this play a lot, coming in with the Dusclops and throwing the Ice Punches. You know you're going to resist the Dragon Breath on the Fortress, but why not grab some shields first? And that's exactly what these super effective charge attacks will do.
I think the awkward spot here for Mango is that whatever he throws, it's not going to be enough to knock out. Galax knows this. He knows Thunder Punch, Aqua Tail, it's not going to matter. He can survive, so he can put a ton of pressure onto this. The Switch Clock not available, so no catch potentially coming through here for Mango, and Mango has to decide, do I take the super effective damage or do I burn the final shield? And he is going to burn the final shield, and now that shields are down, in comes the Fortress, and Fortress would love to get to the Earthquake here.
Yeah, of course. Trying to spin up a win for Galaxica Bolton here. Fortress staring down the Goodra, not worried about any of these charge attacks, just like the Dusclops wasn't. Aqua Tail just kind of bounces off, but switches in with the Rock Tomb, Henry. Surprise play.
Rock Tomb bait is successful, able to grab the shield from the Fortress. Mango, his fortress is very low, and he's not going to get any more damage as the Rock Tomb immediately comes out from Galax Bolton. Galax Bolton prioritizing the health on this fortress, understanding fortress is his only remaining Dragon Breath resistance.
Yeah, exactly right. Gudra coming in, closing in on the next Rock Tomb, though, but I think the Earthquake is what Galax is going to go for. Aqua Tail coming through now here as well. It's going to be about, what, 6 seconds to the Aqua Tail every time, so Gudra might be able to pace the second one, but it's got to do it right now. No way, it's too far.
Yeah, just a few Dragon Breaths short of the second Aqua Tail. Even a Thunder Punch would not have been enough to knock out. Double Aqua Tail was the play, but there's just not enough energy available. The Earthquake lands. In comes the Dusclops.
Hold on.
Oh, man.
Hold
I
on.
thought that was going to KO, but Gudra's so bulky. This is going to come down to a Volt Switch farm down of a Gudra.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Dragon Breath going to rain down onto the fortress. Can it hang on? The Steel typing kicks in, and it's able to survive, tying up the series. Galax Bolton from Sweden.
Benching the Servine, saying, you know what, maybe Servine is not what's needed in this matchup, and instead trusting in what actually Mango is using, the Fortress plus Dusclops core, and that core ends up working out pretty nicely, again, in a format when a lot of these more meta mons are banned. Pokemon like these can really rise to the top as the kind of issues they might have against some of the top meta mons are no longer an issue when those mons are not allowed.
Well, Mango was ready for the Servine, right? He not only did he have Fortress, he also had Ice Punch, Dusclops, and the Gudra. So great call by Galax not to bring the Servine into that game number 2. It would have had basically nowhere to go in that matchup. So going into game number 3, this is again on our day 2 brackets. This is really important for staying on the winner's side, and we've got a Fortress mirror match to kick things off.
Fortress versus Fortress. I imagine this will be a battle of the Rock Tombs, just trying to apply whatever debuffs you possibly can. And we will see Galax Bolton winning Charge Attack priority. And being able to win Charge Attack priority in this matchup is incredibly, incredibly helpful. Similar to like a Credilli mirror, which we see in Go Battle League quite a bit. If you apply the debuff first, you're going to continually build a health advantage as the match goes on.
Yeah, exactly right. You want to slow down your opponent first. Having that first strike capability is so critical. We see the immediate swap now into the normal cast form. That makes a lot of sense too, because the Pokemon Go does not want to lose Charge Attack priority again.
So for Mango, we see a very similar strategy to the game number 1, where the goal is to try and lure out the Hakamo and set up Gudra. But with the bulky Dusclops lurking in the back, I don't know if that's going to end up being a winning strategy here, just because Dusclops, it can absorb those Dragon Breaths and the Aqua Tails so comfortably, and it's able to outspeed it as well.
Now, this Brick Break we saw from game number 1, just about the amount of damage that it does. I'm confident that this cast form can get to another charge stack here, especially when you consider it's only 2 hexes away. Here comes normal type Weather Ball again.
Interesting decision point in the match for Galax Bolton. Galax Bolton will invest in switch advantage, but has to go down a shield to do so. Will get a nice farm down, exiting with a charge attack loaded, but this does not go particularly far into the Fortress. However, the one worry for Fortress is this is a really hard Volt switch down, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him tank the move and then look to snipe down with the Gudra potentially.
Oh, and I think he read that exactly, immediately reaching for the Dusclops here to get out and avoid that Dragon Breath pressure. Actually gonna bait as well with the Shadow Punch. This is diabolical.
Does he fall for it? He does! He shields it, and Dusclops is already so spammy, but gets even a little bit of help here in the pacing department, as now it is cheaper to get to that Ice Punch. And for Mango, he's thinking about it, and he is going to invest the shield, getting this shield call right.
Wow, actually makes sense. I mean, if your opponent already has leverage, you expect them to double down. Gonna go for the Aqua Tail here on good timing after 3 more hexes. But again, this Dusclops is so bulky, so thick, it can take at least one of these, and it might be able to hang on through a second one as well.
Yeah, it looked like a second Aqua Tail would not knock out, so Mango not going to throw it right away. Instead, just going to have to absorb this super effective Ice Punch. The Ice Punch will land. Gudra can hang on here. Gudra could look to get pretty close to doubling up. And now, if you're Galax Bolton, he's going to opt to let this go, and he is going to trust in Fortress to try and close out this game.
I almost wonder if a single Dragon Tail will do it, coming in with the Hakamo and the swap into Fortress to avoid the knockout, transferring the damage into the Bug Steel type. What a play.
That is really nice understanding of game mechanics there. The Fortress will now be hit with the Dragon Claw. It's resisted damage. Fortress does not survive. And now it's going to be Fortress versus Gudra in the end game. And Gudra just not enough in the tank here. The Rock Tomb is going to be reached. The Rock Tomb KOs the Gudra. And from down 0-1, Galax Cabolton with the back-to-back wins there. And he's going to be advancing to the winners semifinals.
Wow, Galax Cabolton absolutely nailing down Mango on making it very difficult for him to maneuver around, having just the right swap lined up, just the right amount of energy to strike when he needs to. Incredible plays there by Galax Cabolton to stay aware and to stay present throughout the duration of that battle. Again, as we've seen so many times in double elimination, staying on that winner's side bracket is so important. And when you're battling it out for a first place prize of $1,000, you want to make sure that you're on that winner's side bracket and take the easy road, as they say.
And honestly, even though the being on the winner's side is more of the easy road, the battles were not by any means. No. That was a hard fought series, and I loved getting to watch Mango basically steal victory from the jaws of defeat in game number 1 with that devastating Shadow Punch catch. But Galax Cabolton down but not out, able to get the equalizer and then take that series. But the good news is this is double elimination. So even though Mango is down, he's by no means out. He's just going to move to the losers bracket where his run can still continue. So for Galax Cabolton, the road, a pretty easy one. If he wins one more best of 3, he's on to winners finals. But Mango, he's going to have to win a few more matches. But with how well he played there, I would not count him out by any means.
You make an excellent point. You know, I said easy road, but I definitely think that should be in quotations because you're fighting the best of the best up there on the winner side bracket. The trainers who have not dropped a single round or a single set are going to be your opponents for those matches. So yeah, definitely no easy routes to be had. But I don't know, Henry. I think we might be ready to move on to our next matchup, and then maybe we'll get a bracket refresh after that. But what do you say we get into it?
I am very excited to check out this next match because this next match is a battle of 2 younger trainers who are both incredibly talented. As we stay on the winner side of the bracket, it is PvP David, regional champion. He's had many accolades over the years, and he's going to be battling against a newer trainer, I believe from Malaysia, YYDS and Holy.
All right, let's get into it. YYDS, definitely a very powerful clan. I think of them and the LNDS as well. But let's see what they're cooking up here. We've got a Whimsicott on the field taking on Swampert, and there's a Shadow Granbull on David's team. What is happening here?
And 2 Scrafties. That is not what I was expecting here whatsoever. But on David's team, he has the Walrein, Fortress, Dusclops, Shadow Granbull, and Scrafty. And this matchup, now that Swampert has Sludge, is suddenly really uncomfortable for the Whimsicott. It'll come down to who wins charge deck priority, and I believe that's actually IV dependent. So it's going to come down to, is it a very attack-weighted Swampert? Does it end up being a Whimsicott that's maybe potentially a higher rank? So that's going to be very close.
Yeah, not me realizing that Sludge is going to be double super effective versus Whimsicott, probably taking like 80% of its health, if not a little bit more. So yeah, we're going to see 2 shields going both ways, back and forth. This is like a knife fight, Henry. Like whoever connects first is just going to win this matchup.
Do you risk the CMP to idea switch? David's going to go for the move. It's CMP, and Swampert wins it. The high attack Swampert comes through. This is going to be good night to the Whimsicott. There will be no survivors. And for YYDS and Holy, the gamble does not pay off.
Wow, put it all on red, and the arrow lands on black. That really stinks for him. But now he's got to find a way to kind of dig himself out of this deficit after losing a very valuable Pokemon in that Whimsicott. Hydro Cannon connecting.
Hydro Cannon doing quite a lot of damage. He's going to look to overfarm. And now will go for the Mud Bomb. Look like a turn weight there to prevent David from catching. So very nicely done on the side of YYDS and Holy.
And Holy connects with the Mud Bomb, gets the first knockout for himself in the matchup. And we see the Scrafty come in. This looks like a counter Scrafty. I heard rumors, Henry, of some Scrafty users playing Snarl, but apparently not in this game.
But this is David making the read. He is bringing in the Scrafty because he can actually take the hit that the Granbull cannot. This is an upper hand Scrafty as well. Scrafty, oh, the CMP tide denying that move. and the Scrafty for Holy's not going to have a good day. There's a Grand Bull in the back, and this could be an absolute disaster, although he might not even see the Grand Bull, as I don't know if Scrafty can hang on here to an upper hand.
Let's find out. Upper hand coming through from PvP David after the perfect overcharge. This is going to be super effective stab damage into the opposing Scrafty. Upper hand connects this in an uppercut. Oh, it almost gets the knockout.
Oh, barely surviving, so the third Pokemon will be revealed. He has, and it looks like YYDS and Holy has Power-Up Punch on the Scrafty instead of Upper Hand, but one charm from Grand Bull means that that's going to be a Game 1 win for David.
Dude, that charm, I mean, there's a set of keys that can basically do the same thing. It's called Control-Alt-Delete. The charm is absolutely insane, dealing that double super effective damage to the Scrafty there.
What I was really impressed by in that match was the confidence of David. He trusted that he won that charge tech priority tie, and to my understanding, that's one that's IV dependent. So that is not a guarantee. Like if you're a Swampert into a Bastiodon, you know Swampert, it's always going to win CMP. You don't have to worry about that. But Swampert into a Whimsicott, the waters get a lot murkier, but he was really confident. There was no catch attempt, so Holy thought he won charge tech priority as well, and unfortunately for Holy, the Swampert went first. Down goes the Whimsicott, and losing that Whimsicott ended up being just unrecoverable because Whimsicott was so good into what David had in the back.
It reminds me of the arms race we used to have between Sableye and Venusaur. That's another, very close matchup in terms of attack stat. And I remember tons of Go Battle League matches where I would either, win the charge tech priority and be really happy, or I would lose it and I'd start raging. I'd be like, no way you have an 8 attack Venusaur. Get out of here. What are you doing? But yeah, David's super confident. And that's probably one of the matchups he looked at, right? Seeing the rankings on our sponsor PV Pokes page, scrimming with his opponents and friends. He probably saw that charge priority being really important. And also, nice touch from our production team, Miss Mystic, adding in a shiny Swampert to match David's shiny Swampert. I'm sure that was intentional.
Very nice stuff. And for YYDS and Holy, a bit of an interesting decision point here, because you're already down 1-0. Now you have the information about that matchup. Do you risk bringing that Whimsicott? Because if you lead it into the Swampert, then you know you're not going to win that cap tie. So you end up having to feel like you have to catch out. You have to try and give up swap. So I wouldn't be surprised. You can bring the Whimsicott, but the Whimsicott suddenly feels a lot more risky, knowing that that's actually a matchup that somehow as a grass type into a Swampert that you do not win.
I think one of the most important aspects of team building is finding places to distribute damage. If you're going to lead a Whimsicott and swap out, you got to catch a Hydro Cannon somewhere. And I think that it looks like YYDS and Holy is trying to catch those charge attacks on his Walrein here to start at game number 2.
Walrein going to have the same pacing here as the Swampert. Sludge will connect. Sludge, not a particularly powerful attack neutrally, and that's part of why a lot of trainers did opt for Walrein, as Walrein, like Dusclops, provides bulk in a meta that doesn't have a lot of bulk overall. Icicle Spear is going to land. It looks like Walrein will win the Zero Shield in this matchup. We're going to see a catch of a Sludge onto the Whiscash, and we're off to the races here in game number 2. What a beautiful play by Holy.
It's like dumping poison onto mud. It just straight up absorbs it, dealing no damage at all hardly. But the Swampert is able to clutch up the Hydro Cannon, which is going to chip down the Whiscash. Great shield here by Holy, but the energy advantage, I think, is going to be significant going into this secondary matchup.
In comes the Walrein, and if there was ever a Pokemon that could do a good job at absorbing energy from an energy lead Whiscash in this meta, Walrein is a really solid contender. We saw it was able to just destroy that Sludge energy, and even more so the Mud Bomb energy, as this poor Whiscash, it's going to need 3 Mud Bombs before Walrein even considers putting up a Protect Shield.
Oh, goodness. They're just shoveling it on at this point. Second Mud Bomb connects. Walrein shrugs it off, but it's about to hit the yellow pretty soon. Going for the Earthquake and the swap and the catch into the Walrein. Try to catch Icicle Spear, Henry. Is this a misplay? What do you think?
Oh man, this would have been an incredible catch if it was the Icicle Spear, but that's the Earthquake. Down goes Walrein. And wow, David with the read. He said, you can catch on me once. You are absolutely not catching on me twice. And now you're forced back into the Whiscash. And this is not comfortable. And now it's David. David with the catch. Don't do it to him, David. Devastating catch onto the Swampert. And this is a back and forth game between 2 incredible trainers.
Coming in with the Grand Bull now, David trying to put an exclamation mark on the end of this sentence. Great timing and awareness as well by YYDS and Holy to get that extra mud shot before that charm registers. And then the mud bomb. Every bit of chip damage against this Grand Bull is going to help, but the mud bomb is going to take that first shield from David.
In comes the Whimsicott, and Whimsicott, I believe it was at Worlds when people were calling it flimsy whimsy because it does not take hits well, and these charms are just shredding this poor Whimsicott.
Giving up proper timing there to land that crunch. David wants that defense
debuff.
drop, and he gets it. Seed Bomb getting fired off here. Oh, he's going to let it through on the Grand Bull, putting it all in his final Pokemon.
I do really like this play from David. This just really simplifies things of you have a wall rain and a shield. Great plays from David. A great series. I know it's going to end in a 2-0 victory, but it really felt like a great back and forth series. Some action-packed catches from both sides, but it's David, the play Pokemon veteran, emerging on top there. And Charm Granbull honestly didn't really feel like it had to do a whole lot in that series. He was brought both games, but it realistically was just the Swampert show again and again and again.
Yeah, Swampert is just so balanced, and when you don't have to worry about any kind of fast attack grass type damage coming through, you can really just leave the Swampert in. You can swap it. You can use it as a sacrificial swap like David did as well. And I'm just seeing flashes, right? Flashes of brilliance. This is the same kind of gameplay we saw from David at Worlds in Hawaii, making crazy catches, taking down opponents that were way more experienced than him. And he's doing it again here. Like you said, two young trainers, and we see David come out the victor in the end. But I will say that was another battle on our winner side bracket, if not mistaken. There's still a lot of movement, a lot of action happening on the loser side bracket as well. So I'm excited to see where we go from here.
And I believe where we're going next, we're actually staying with YYDS and Holy, which is quite exciting. Obviously, took the loss to David, not out of it yet. YYDS and Holy now move to the loser side of the bracket, but if you thought the opponents were getting easier, Speedy, they are not getting any easier as YYDS and Holy goes from playing PvP David to now playing against Out of Pocket, who is making, similar to Milwaukee, another great losers run.
Oh my goodness. I would love to, whenever possible, I'd love to get a bracket update just to see where we're going. But taking on Out of Pocket in the losers round 2 of a $2,000 cash prize tournament, in the Spice Bowl of all things, I mean, my goodness, this is going to be tricky. I'm really excited to see what team Pocket brought as well. I'm interested to see what Mudboy he brought because I know he's a Shadow Quagsire enjoyer. I know that we did have some Swampert gameplay from David. I'm excited to see what his team composition looks like personally.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we had a lot of the top competitors. I know they were making a lot of team adjustments throughout the course of their practice. So they were testing stuff, trying to figure out which which Mud Boy do I use? Do I opt for Dusclops? Do I go anti-meta? Do I bring like a Thievul or something like that? As we can take a look at our brackets here, we had Galax Bolton versus Firestar in the top half of our winners bracket, and PvP David versus Zardi. So the competition only heating up from here, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's going to be super exciting to watch. Galaxica Bolton take on Firestar here shortly. David, really impressive. He's got a battle against Zardi, though, which is no slouch. Again, one of the best trainers from the LATAM region. If we could take a look at our loser side bracket as well. I'm so excited to see this. We've got Z Swiley taking on SJ, YYDS and Holy, like you said, taking on Out of Pocket. Mango still in the tournament. It's going to take on Jocks, and then Existing Monkey versus Beelzeboy. So we've got some pretty hype matches here.
That we certainly do. And I'm very excited for that YYDS and Holy versus Out of Pocket matchup because the Holy David games were incredible. And we just saw, I think it was a week and a half ago, Pocket raising the trophy there in Milwaukee. So I'm very excited for that matchup. I think we're going to see some unbelievably good games.
All right. Well, I'm ready if you are, Henry. Let's head to losers round 2, where YYDS and Holy is trying to bounce back against Out of Pocket in that losers side bracket. Pocket made some deep runs, especially like you said in Milwaukee. So let's see if he can do it again. These teams, we got some Quillfish on these teams, it looks like.
Quillfish, and it looked like for Pocket, a Shadow Swampert. So opting for the Swampert over the Whiscash. But Quillfish is a really cool pick. Quillfish has incredibly good pacing. So I believe it's our first time seeing Quillfish on broadcast today, so we'll see if it gets brought here. I know obviously it would not be a big fan of the Whiscash, but Quillfish could be. It'll be interesting to see if it's brought, what moveset it has as well, whether they opt for Ice Beam or Sludge Wave there.
Well, it actually honestly looks like neither here for Pocket. He registered with a Poison Jab, Aqua Tail, Shadow Ball, Hisuian Quillfish.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm excited to see what he's got there. But yeah, I would love to get into it. That Whimsicott got foiled by a Swampert against David. Let's see if it meets a similar fate here against Out of Pocket.
All right, and we can take a look at the teams here. So he's rounded out with Dusclops, the Quillfish, Shadow Swampert, Scrafty, a Florges, and a Walrein. So we see a lot of similarities here across these teams, but I do really like the choice of Florges over Whimsicott because they do have very similar coverage across the board, but Florges' ability to boost up with Trailblaze, I think, is really underrated. And also, it doesn't have the weaknesses that come with being a grass type.
I really love that you pointed that out. Whenever I see the flower, I think it's a grass type, but it's actually not. Walrein leading into the Hisuian Quillfish from YYDS and Holy. This looks like a Shadow Ball Quillfish as well. Walrein, a very neutral matchup, but this Quillfish has to avoid the Earthquake.
Tough call to make. Will the Quillfish go for the bait? No, going to full send the Shadow Ball. This will not knock out, but it will remove a lot of health from the Walrein. Pocket's thinking about it. He's gonna no shield. Shadow Ball is gonna connect, but Walrein proves why it was a meta beast in the past. It's not even in the red, Speedy.
It's not even breaking a sweat. We're going to see an Icicle Spear get shielded up there by the Quillfish after building to the Earthquake energy. It's too valuable to lose, but Holy's going to have to take at least one Icicle Spear for his trouble.
I like to play by Pocket. Just guarantee some damage. You already got a shield in this matchup, so guarantee a little bit of damage. And Holy is going to look to overfarm quite a bit. Back-to-back Aqua Tails are reached. And for Pocket, he's just opting to let this go.
Say this is going to be close, especially considering the undercharge. Maybe you're looking for a couple of cheeky poison stings, and we see the swap now into the floor, just arming the Shadow Ball. It's locked, it's loaded, it's ready. Here it comes.
And recognizing this is Shadow Ball energy, Florges is going to end up committing the shield. And now Florges is going to be answered with the Whimsicott. So these Pokemon, they do have pretty identical coverage here. But Moonblast from this Florges is going to hit big damage into the very flimsy Whimsicott.
Oh my goodness, that does even more damage than I thought. Moonblast absolutely rocks the Whimsicott, and now it's going to try to fire back with one of its own. Already giving up a shield in this game. Out of Pocket is down to 1. He uses it right here and right now.
Getting the shield call right on this Moonblast can now even look to pick up a KO with a Trailblaze. And for Holy, the question is, do you really want to commit a shield on the Trailblaze here? And he says no, he's more than happy just to let this go. Trailblaze is going to knock out the Whimsicott. There is still a catch available, though. So there's still a shield and a catch available for Holy, as Holy is going to need Walrein to put in a lot of work in this game.
It's got to be a wall, right? It's got to block this Florges out, but this is a boosted Trailblaze coming through here and is going to force away that final Protect Shield from YYDS and Holy. That's going to do a lot of damage if it does connect the third time around. Meanwhile, Walrein is putting this Pokemon with an Icicle Spear.
Oh,
Failed!
Turn weight! That's so perfect. Oh my goodness. He switched right when Holy was going to throw, but the turn weight was brilliant. No catch. Pocket does not get the Earthquake. And that is an incredible turn of events for YYDS and Holy.
Yeah, absolutely insane. I'm so glad you pointed that out. That was a microscopic play, but it really mattered a lot. Icicle Spear does connect. I don't even know if Florges wins the charge tech party against Walrein, but I hope Pocket knows because that might be important here in a moment.
There's so much energy on this Walrein, and from earlier, we know a Shadow Punch will not be enough to knock out. So, if you're the Walrein, you're pretty comfortable here, but now there's back-to-back moves, and suddenly things get a little bit interesting.
Ooh, Henry, do we see a catch here? Do we see a swap on the back-to-back Shadow Punches? No, actually going for the charge tech
CMP
priority.
tie.
Yeah.
So no catch comes through from either side, and this Icicle Spear into the Dusclops will not be enough to KO. Dusclops hangs on, but the tricky thing here is Dusclops Hex is a 3-turn move. It's low enough that I think it will actually feint to a fast move, but we should see the switch into the Florges and get the Fairy Wind down, not letting the Dusclops get knocked out there by the Poison Sting. Very nicely done, and just great games overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Really nicely played there by Pocket in the final moments to close out that game with the dub. And as to your point, right, realizing the 3-turn Hex versus the 1-turn Poison Sting, you could see Pocket already tapping on that Florges. He wanted that Pokemon back onto the field and he didn't want to feed his opponent any unnecessary energy. So great awareness by Pocket as what we've come to expect. But YYDSN Holy needs to find a way back into this. I mean, how do you think he does it?
It might involve benching the Whimsicott. Like Whimsicott, especially in matchups with the Walrein, it really feels like the fast move pressure that a Walrein can provide. And there's a Quillfish as well. It feels like I get the idea behind bringing it, but it feels like in a matchup of very similar teams, the Florges for Pocket is better positioned because Florges beats Walrein typically, whereas unfortunately for the Whimsicott, the Powder Snow pressure is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think maybe concern about that Scrafty from out of pocket. Maybe that's the primary reason to bring it. But if you look at the team composition, you've got Ice Punch, Dusclops, you've got Poison Sting, Hisuian Quillfish, Sludge, Shadow Swampert, and Icicle Spear Walrein. So there's just so many obstacles to playing a grass and poison type. It's got such a great like offensive combination, but it's also like a double-edged sword. It's such a bad defensive combination, that being grass and fairy. So I don't know. We're going to see what he decides to do. Game number 2, jumping right in. Out of pocket is 1 away, and YYDS is facing elimination.
And he is actually going to stay with the Whimsicott, not leading it, and the Whimsicott getting to avoid the Walrein, which is a definite plus. Last time, full sent the Shadow Ball, and a no shield came through. This time, we will see the turn wait from Holy and for Pocket. Now, a confident no shield, as he knows the damage range and knows that Walrein is not remotely threatened.
Yeah, exactly right. Icicle Spear coming through here again. This is like what we talked about previously, just getting a bit of damage in, just being consistent and not risking it all in a big time earthquake. I really like the patience here by Pocket. Actually, not even waiting for the Shadow Ball to be ready either. He wants to guarantee that he gets this Icicle Spear right through.
And landing this damage, Quillfish is so frail. So Quillfish now very low. Back-to-back Aqua Tails are reached once again. And you have to wonder if Holy will actually go for the full charge here because last time went for the undercharge and Pocket was able to switch out.
Oh, it looks like he does hang on and he switches out regardless. And now we see the floor just, oh, this is a wild bait, Henry.
Going for the Aqua Tail. Pocket now has to decide. Pocket going to end up putting up the Protect Shield. And now we will see the Whimsicott hit the field. And it's going to be a Walrein Dusclops endgame.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess it's too risky in hindsight to bring that Galarian Stunfisk for YYDSN Holy. So if you're not gonna, hard counter something like a Florges, you can at least match it. Moonblast does get shielded up there, and then Moonblast is ready for Holy, but he goes for the Seed Bomb bait.
Risky bait here. Does it pay off? Pocket thinking through his options. Clock ticking down. He shields and gets the shield used on a bait. Does this allow the outpace? It does. And because of that, Pocket's forced to settle for the Trailblaze.
Forced to settle for it. And I gotta wonder, does he have the ability to swap and catch on the Walrein? No, he's gonna go for the Dusclops instead.
And Dusclops will take a lot of damage, and considering that Walrein is the Pokemon that will eventually be aligned here, this is actually a very valuable chip for making Walrein's life a lot easier. Now, we have seen some Ice Punch catches onto Ice Waters, but this will not be that time. Just gonna switch in right away. No, a Kobe 2.0 here from YYDS and Holy. Just gonna switch in the Walrein, take the extra Powder Snow energy, and just continue to farm up more and more.
I absolutely love that you called that out. Yeah, just straight Shadow Punch, no Kobe needed here. Shadow Punch number 2 will connect into the Walrein, chipping it down into the yellow, but you're going to need at least a third Shadow Punch to pick up the KO with the Hex damage to boot. Meanwhile, Walrein has the Icicle Spear.
I really like throwing 2 and the move there because this way Holy gets to maximize energy and the Hex that sneaks there will not register because the Icicle Spear picked up the knockout. So it's a sneaky way for Holy to exit with a little bit more energy, 1 extra Powder Snow, but while still not taking any extra damage. We're going to see a catch attempt.
Oh no, Pocket is absolutely hitting the road and skidding all the way to a stop. This is really, really brutal for him. Icicle Spear will connect into the floor, just deep into the red, and a swap into the Whimsicott. Whimsicott's revenge.
Whimsicott able to flip the script here. After game 1, I was thinking about benching it. YYDS and Holy said, nah, if I just position it a little bit better. And that seed bomb bait is what really felt like it shifted the tides in this game. It brought them to even pacing in which Whimsicott would win the charge attack priority tie and nuke the Florges. So it forced Pocket to have to burn all his energy on a resisted Trailblaze to pivot out and try and save it. But in doing so, it just didn't end up working out because that allowed the chip on the Dusclops, the Walrein farm, and Walrein just slammed the door on game number 2.
It's just so uncharacteristic for Out of Pocket as well, because we saw not only the two baits shielded, excuse me. We also saw the failed catch, and if you think about it, the Hisuian Quillfish was still one poison sting away from the Shadow Ball against that Florges in the mid game, so it didn't even have the energy. And a very rare moment where Pocket didn't know exactly down to a science how much energy his opponent had. So I think that YYDS and Holy is throwing a lot of things at Pocket, and he's kind of getting a little overwhelmed as we head into a decisive game number 3.
It'll be interesting. This has really felt like a bit of a heavyweight bout here, and this is not where Dusclops is wanting to be, staring down Quillfish, the pivot into the Walrein, but there's the Scrafty to punish, and this is a power-up punch Scrafty, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, the manipulation here by YYDS and Holy to force Pocket into bringing this Walrein and having the Scrafty ready all of a sudden to punish it. This is insane gameplay.
Oh, and power-up punch is so unfortunate. If it was upper hand, at the very least, you're not going to have to deal with boosted counters. But boosted counters, I mean, we know from Furret, Sucker Punch obviously does the same damage as counter there. Boosted Sucker Punch, no joke, and here boosted counter, no joke. As Scrafty's so bulky, it doesn't even have to shield. It's going to be low, but it's hanging on here. The Icicle Spear will not KO. Scrafty exits boosted and with loaded energy.
Scrafty living on a prayer and gets through that matchup. It has a lot of sword energy as well. It does have the foul play. Oh, after one counter, it does. And this is going to be, what was this? This is like double resisted, right? Dark and fighting?
Very heavily resisted, yes.
Yeah.
Foul play, not going to do much of anything, but unfortunately, this is just a line call. Dusclops now going to have to put in incredible work. Ooh. If Dusclops can maybe get a lot of shield calls right, maybe there's a chance, but it's looking really tough for Pocket in this game number 3. It felt like game number 2 had a lot more options, and Holy was just able to convert on them. And in this game 3, Pocket has his tournament life on the line here, and his back is very much against the wall.
Yeah, I think when you call that swap the way that Holy called it, it's so difficult to come back from it, especially when you don't have to shield up your Scrafty to preserve it in the mid game. Second Ice Punch does get shielded. So far, both trainers making the right calls on the charge attacks, and the switch timers are ticking down as well.
It's so tough because not only do you have to get through the Quillfish, but you have to get through the entirety of the Whimsicott as well. Pocket has a true 50-50 here. He shields, he gets it right. But this is going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and for Pocket as well, as soon as you reach for that Scrafty, you get absolutely annihilated by the Whimsicott swap. So there's really not a lot he can do. Like you pointed out, he needs to get past this Quillfish, and he needs to save some energy for the Whimsicott. But the Shadow Ball is ready. Oh, this is going from bad to worse.
Oh man, I had hoped, because I know Quillfish is glassy, that Ice Punch would do more, but Dusclops just doesn't do any kind of damage. And unfortunately, Dusclops not able to sweep. And our good friend Scrafty gonna throw one final upper hand, but it just cannot escape here. As upper hand into the Whimsicott, we finally found a charge move that Whimsicott can tank. And Whimsicott can just farm up so much energy to the back-to-back seed bombs, and that's going to be game over.
Yeah, Seed Bomb will connect here into the Scrafty. Bulky or not, doesn't matter when you're dealing super effective or double super effective fast attack damage. In comes the Dusclops. Got it banked for a rainy day. Whimsicott, after getting absolutely just shoved out of the door against David and then destroyed in game 1 versus Pocket, it becomes like arguably the MVP for Holy down the stretch.
That's a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest, because we saw, I think it was 3 games in a row where Whimsicott felt pretty underwhelming, like living up to the Flimsy Whimsy nickname. But in those final 2 games, Whimsicott was clutch. The seed bomb bait flipping game 2 on its head, and then in game 3, just calling the Scrafty. Both trainers opting to bring Scrafty, trying to catch their opponent's Walrein, but unfortunately, It's Pocket's Walrein who gets caught, and with power-up punch, that just set up Holy so well.
Pocket has been eliminated from the Spice Bowl tournament. If you wanted some cash prize money, he's going to have to try to compete next time we host one of these because he is out of the money for now. But YYDS and Holy will continue through that losers side bracket. Like we called out a couple times, Henry, we had over 200 players sign up and compete. We narrowed it down to a top 16, and these are the best of the best. So I'm really excited to see how YYDS and Holy continues to move through the bracket and what kind of fireworks, absolute fireworks we're going to get on that winner side bracket as well.
Yeah, the winner's side, we got a chance to look at it a bit earlier, and it's two incredible pairs here. So we have Firestar versus Galax Bolton and Zardi versus David. So right off the bat, obviously, David and Zardi are both regional champions. Galax is a regional champion as well. And then there's a bit of an underdog story here where Firestar, he has top cut at tournaments before, doesn't get to go to many of them. But Firestar making a pretty impressive run so far as he's now into the top 8.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he had to do a lot of work in day number 1 to get to this point, but he's got to take on the Leaf Tornado mastermind here in Galax Bolton pretty soon. And then David was super impressive versus Zardi. Zardi's a trainer that I'm always just so excited to see when he's battling. I know he kind of has stepped away from the scene recently, but now he's back. I'm really happy to see him succeeding here in the Spice Bowl tournament. And we haven't even previewed his team, everyone. So I cannot wait to show you. Well, actually, we did. We showed against Zilus earlier, excuse me. But I'm excited to see what his matchup looks like into David and his shiny Swampert.
And I'm very excited for that match. Zardi versus David, 2 regional champions. It's going to be good. I believe before that, though, we have Firestar versus Galax Bolton. And Firestar versus Galax Bolton is going to be an incredible matchup. A battle between a trainer who has really established themselves in Galax Bolton. He has run, I believe he made day 2 at a regional with a timeout team. He's won a regional with Leaf Tornado Superior. He's done some incredible things. And then he's going up against Firestar, a trainer who is definitely a trainer to watch, a trainer on the rise. So we should be in for some incredible battles here.
Yeah, dude. Galax Bolton is such a mastermind, such a devious team builder. But we have a Shadow Mightyena on the side of Firestar. What is going on with the Spice Bowl, Henry?
Oh man, Shadow Mightyena looks really good into this team if it avoids that one matchup. But Galax Bolton with the lead call, and now we have the Swampert save switch answered with the Dusclops. And this is a very neutral mid game as Firestar will hopefully try and free the Shadow Mightyena from being aligned into that Hakamo'o.
Agree that Mightyena is going to be running Sucker Punch as its fast attack with Poison Sting and Crunch. But meanwhile, Dusclops coming in with the Shadow Punches trying to whittle down this Swampert.
Looks like Swampert can even take one more Shadow Punch. If it can survive it, it looks like Firestar thinks he might live it, but he might not live the Hex after. So he is going to end up investing a Protect Shield there. And now he's at the back-to-back Hydro Cannons and really going to make life uncomfortable for Galax Bolton if this does, in fact, pick up the knockout onto the bulky Dusclops.
Yeah, I feel like after you shield the first one, you have to expect to shield the second one. And it looks like he is going to go up for the Hex as well. So he might have had a chance to fire off that Shadow Punch, and he just didn't take it. He wants the energy instead.
It does feel like a bit of a risk to throw on alignment because if you end up getting it wrong, then potentially your opponent gets a bunch of free energy, so they both opt for the good timing. Firestar unable to win switch, but does get a shield advantage, and with shield advantage, he's hoping to be able to sweep in the end game. In comes that Shadow Mightyena, and Shadow Mightyena is gonna look to go for a full Sucker Punch farm down here.
Oh my goodness. What a time to be alive, Henry. Seeing Shadow Mightyena tearing it up in a $2,000 cash prize tournament. My goodness. Here comes the Hakamo'o. We're going to see the Poison Fang get fired off here. And I gotta assume we're going to see a swap after this.
Yeah, it looks like it is the Dragalge on the back, so just trying to get as much Dragon Tail damage as possible. In comes the Dragalge. Look at the Dragon Tails there. Dragon Claw coming through. This will force the final Protect Shield, and then it seems like Fortress really wants to be in the Zero Shields, and that's exactly where Galax has gotten it, as now Galax gets to send in the Fortress. It's a Dragon Tail resist, and things are looking really tough for Firestar in this game.
Going up for 5 Dragon Tails there for 15 turns. A little bit tricky to do your timing right when you have a 3-turn Dragon Tail versus 4-turn Volt Switch. But I think getting any amount of chip damage in here is going to be critical, especially if you want to set up that Shadow Mightyena in the end for Firestar.
The back-to-back Aqua Tails launched into this Fortress. Fortress is going to be able to hang on. Switch clock up soon, but it's not up soon enough. And the timing from Galax Bolton getting all the way to 100 energy. This is going to be the Earthquake, and that's going to be the end of Dragalge.
5-head plays to try to put himself close to that Rock Tomb. He's only 2 away, and he's able to get there right in the clutch. Fortress hangs on through the double sucker punches, and here comes a Rock Tomb burial.
And that should be game 1 for Galax Bolton. The energy management on the Fortress. I know Speedy's got to be beaming from ear to ear at all this Fortress gameplay right there. But the energy management on the Fortress was exquisite. You saw the idea for Firestar there. It was Swampert very neutral into the team, try and generate an advantage, and Mightyena looks really good into everything that isn't the Hakamo'o, but the lead call, Galax Bolton catching that Mightyena, and unfortunately catching Firestar in a little bit of shambles here in this game number 1.
Yeah, I agree. And we could actually see the setup late game as well. Firestar wanted to sucker punch down that Fortress and try to poison feign the Hakamo'o to win the battle, and just managing the HP, budgeting out the energy. Galax Bolton was as impressive as ever. That was absolutely brilliant to watch. He also recognized after the double Aqua Tails from Dragalge, it was going to be another 12-turn cycle to the next Aqua Tail. And he was already resisting all the Dragon Tails. So he said, why not overcharge, get as much energy as I can, and try to ensure that I'm not too far from that Rock Tomb that I need to win this game.
Now, Speedy, he's up 1-0. Does he risk it and bring the Servine? Because he did bring it earlier, and I believe he ended up losing that game, but it's what he's known for. So that's something I'm going to be watching for in game 2. It's going to be Dusclops. It's going to be Swampert. No Servine. Oh, it's in the back. He brought the Servine. Let's go, Speedy.
But why? But why would you even do that? You're facing a Dragon Poison, an Ice type, a Walrein, a Togetic. You've got Poison Fang Mightyena, and a Fortress. Where does Servine have to go if it's not against this Swampert that's on camera right now?
I don't know, Speedy. If it Leaf Tornado debuffs, I think anything's possible with that Pokemon right there. We are going to see so much energy generated on this Swampert. This Shadow Punch will not be enough to knock out, so Firestar is going to let this through. And Firestar already at the back-to-back Hydro Cannons.
I was going to say, do we see a catch of a Hydro Cannon on the Servine? I mean, that would be like the most useful thing it could do in this game. But at the same time, it would take a Sludge right directly afterwards. First Hydro Cannon connects, and a swap at a Servine, trying to get the snipe, but he can't line up the scope, Henry.
He tried it. Oh, it's time. Leaf Tornado has a 50% chance to lower your opponent's attack by 2 stages. He went right for it. Firestar's gonna no-shield. Leaf Tornado does get the debuff, and he may not have Superior. It was bad, but he found his Superior replacement. The Leaf Tornado debuff has Walrein in shambles in this game number 2.
Walrein looking pretty shook. Icicle Spear does about half of what I expected it to do. And now we see another Leaf Tornado. Okay, Henry, getting debuffed by Leaf Tornado, understandable. Getting knocked out by Leaf Tornado would be too much disrespect. So we do see the shield.
Another one! 2 for 2! He's the debuff master, Speedy! He can't be stopped! 2 Leaf Tornado debuffs. This is -4 attack on the Walrein. He's going to shield and try and farm down now. So that way, he can actually leave with a Leaf Tornado for the Mightyena. In comes Mightyena. He ends up pivoting into the Dusclops just to get an Ice Punch. But oh my goodness, Galax Bolton, his Servine putting on a clinic in game number 2.
I'm just realizing he has that Servine for an ABA water team, which honestly is 5-head, right? I'm looking at all the obstacles, and all Galax sees are opportunities. Here comes the Hakamo'o, Dragon Tails raining down, gonna aim for that Poison Fang any second, and he gets there.
And this is just so tough. Mightyena looks so fine into every matchup that isn't this Hakamo'o, and it's a magnet for this Hakamo'o. Maybe it heard about the Calm Day that's coming up in June here. Great combo play, firing off the Sludge, but still with the shield to hide behind is Galax Bolton.
I really like that because he timed it where he would not take the Dragon Tail damage on that 1 HP Swampert, and he still got the charge stack. Beautiful, beautiful timing by Firestar there. Poison Fang coming through.
Looks like he went for the crunch, harder hitting, but the Hakamo'o survives. And that's going to be a 2-0 win. Galax Bolton, 2 Leaf Tornado debuffs, 2 wins, and now he's on to winners finals in the Spice Bowl.
Wow. Wow, I just cannot get over that Servine. When 4 out of 6 on your opponent's team are gonna hard wall your pure grass type with only grass type moves, and you bring it anyway because you see the Swampert and Wall Rain core, you're like, man, I gotta do it to him. And Galax did exactly that, getting the win there. What an insane team read there to run it into ABA water and to get it the double debuffs and to get it up a shield. I mean, my goodness, Galax putting in work.
He is the Leaf Tornado Master. He knows what he's doing. And something that I really enjoy, and this is something that I actually got a little bit of help with. So a bit of inside knowledge. Me personally, I don't speak Swedish, but Galax Bolton will have a name for each of his Pokemon. And during the Spice Bowl, Servine was his buddy. And a Swedish, a person who spoke Swedish informed me that the Swedish name that he had picked for his Servine basically translates to replacement burnt. So it's basically, he is just looking to replace Superior with the Servine. And hey, it worked out pretty nicely.
My goodness. I feel like everyone else just flips the coin and hopes they get the debuff, and Galax just flips the coin and tells the coin to give him the debuff. He says, "You're going to do it every time." That's exactly what he got there. So, Firestar, impressive run, but honestly, it might be coming to an end pretty soon because he did fall to that loser side bracket. I don't know if he can continue to fight his way against so many other talented trainers and stay in the tournament. It's going to be really tough for him, so keep an eye on his progress as he moves through the tournament bracket.
And for our other trainer who is in that pairing, Galax Bolton, he's in winners finals, which means he's going to play the winner of our next pairing, which is Zardi versus David, the battle of two heavy hitters representing two regions that have some pretty incredible battlers. We have Zardi from LATAM, and we have, of course, David, who's holding it down for Europe.
Yeah, exactly right. Zardi popularized Shadow Dragonair back in the day. He's played a lot of fun Pokemon in his regional appearances and his victories. So I cannot wait to see what he does against David and his shiny Swampert, which is so instrumental early on in the stream. Jumping right into game number 1, we've got a Skunk Tank here from Zardi taking on the Wall Raid from David.
We have some unique picks here. There's a Greninja, there's a Skuntank. Greninja not seeing gameplay in game number 1. It is a Trailblaze Crunch, but a Trailblaze catch onto Fortress. That's a statement from David. What a play.
My gosh, right? You expect the Crunch to get fired for some neutral damage, but the Trailblaze would have been super effective and boost that Skunk Tank's attack. So the catch there is absolutely insane. Probably going to wait a turn for the swap, and not before the Crunch comes through.
Look at the moveset on the Fortress for David. This is his first time bringing it on stream. That's not Earthquake Speedy. That's Mirror Shot and Rock Tomb.
Wow. Coming into the Fortress Mirror match because of the team sheets, maybe Zardi knows that. He knows there's not going to be an Earthquake on the other side. But you've got to remember as well that the switch timers are now super displaced.
That they are. And for David, he'll have an opportunity to really make this energy for Zardi feel extremely useless because it's now not one stage debuffed, it's 2 stages debuffed. Clock's up for David. So if he wants to switch, he can, but he's going to stay. He's going to try and make one final move. He gets the mirror shot. How well has Zardi been counting?
I'm just wondering, right? Even if you switch here as David, where are you going to send a rock to? Where are you going to send that energy? There's really no place for it to go. Mirror shot resisted, but it does drop the attack.
And now this is 3 stages debuffed on this rock tube. 3 stages debuffed and resisted. Oh no.
Oh no.
Takes it comfortably. In comes the Skuntank, but back in comes the Wall Rain. Wall Rain at a huge energy advantage here due to that Trailblaze catch earlier in the game.
I think the problem here for Zardi is that if you take that Icicle Spear, you likely get Powdered Snow down. So he's forced to shield up there. And now another charge attack coming through. He's only 1 poison jab from his own charge attack, so he might even let this go. We'll see.
He is going to no shield, and he knows his Skuntank hanging on, surviving. This is going to be the Trailblaze. Still 2 shields for David, and David will finally put up the first protection of the match and get the Powder Snow farm down.
Look at how much work that Skuntank did, though. Such an impact player. Now there's a Dusclops in the back there, and I think I see a Scrafty lurking for PvP David. So not only are his plays on point, but his team reads are also insane.
In comes the Fortress. Ooh, the shield is grabbed here. So Walrein shielding up the Rock Tomb. He will be able to save the fortress for a potential catch. And now in comes the Dusclops. Dusclops answered with Scrafty. And this is not where you want to be a Dusclops. Dusclops will be able to tank a foul play. Foul play, not the greatest move in the world in terms of damage. And Dusclops is very bulky. But this is where Dusclops' lack of damage is a huge problem. As these ice punches, I think you need 3, maybe even 4 to knock out Scrafty.
I think you do as well, but after counter got nerfed, it ended up taking a very long time to get up to the foul play. You can see the Scrafty is still like 4 counters away or more. A second ice punch is coming through here. He might actually be able to do it, Henry. I'm starting to believe in the Clops here.
As a rank 1 Dusclops hater, I have yet to see the day where it can pull off the impossible, and it will not get there. Scrafty makes the foul play, and while this won't knock out, it is very valuable damage onto that Dusclops.
Walrein is going to pounce back out. It has the charge deck ready, caught in the Hex. Here comes the Icicle Spear from PvP David. I think this will be just barely not enough. Maybe 1 Powder Snow will do it.
Oh, he hangs on.
Yeah.
Oh my, but the issue is this does not knock out Walrein. Walrein is able to hang on here. Can you potentially get Volt Switches here? He's going to try for it. Oh, the Volt Switch does not KO.
Oh, charge move button didn't show up, but it doesn't really matter. We know Dusclops would have lost the charge attack priority tie to the Walrein regardless, so that looks like a GG's. David taking game 1 versus Zardi.
That was a really back and forth game, but what set the tone early was that Trailblaze catch. Walrein energy, so good in this matchup. And he was completely, by catching that onto the Fortress, he realized Fortress is fairly safe in this matchup. There isn't really like a hard punish. There isn't like the Crocalore that Zilus had or anything like that. And catching that move just put him so far ahead. Zardi played brilliantly to get back in the game, but unfortunately, even with all of his plays, it just still wasn't enough.
I'm so floored by the moveset as well. Mirror Shot and Rock Tomb. What a curious moveset for that Fortress from PvP David. No Earthquake, so he really needs an answer in the mirror match. And his answer in that game number 1 was getting up a ton of energy before deploying Rock Tomb after Rock Tomb and just slowing his opponents way down.
And I have to imagine for game 2, as we do see it lock in here, ooh, actually a pretty neutral matchup, all things considered here. Hakamo'o into the Scrafty, but I would imagine it's going to be a priority to not let a catch like that happen because the catch just put him so far behind. And speaking of behind, Hakamo'o getting outpaced here, and Scrafty will get to unleash its new charge attack of Upper Hand.
Upper Hand does pull away that first shield from the Hakamo'o. We might see a swap here any second, not wanting to take that brick break, but look at the swap mechanics. 1 turn to switch, 1 turn to send in the Fortress, and 1 turn to trigger that Volt Switch. Incredible play there by David.
Right after we said no more catches, David does it again. But here's the interesting thing. David is actually in a really tough spot in this matchup because of his moveset choice. If you're Zardi, you're fine staying in. What are you going to do? Mirror shot me? Throw a resisted Rock Tomb? So It's a nice catch, but I think he's fine to stay in until he gets mirror shot debuffed. Now he is going to pivot out and send in Dusclops.
Yeah, I like the energy management as well. The 4-turn versus 3-turn, like I talked about earlier, is tricky to get right, but being only 2 Volt Switches away is 3 hexes, only giving away 1 free turn of energy. Nice execution, and I think that the Rock Tomb debuff means that this Shadow Punch is at no risk of KOing the Fortress.
Yeah, even if it was at full power, I don't think it's cutting it here. Fortress, so comfortable. There's a switch out, and this is a very dynamic game as in comes the Walrein, and Walrein will immediately be met with Shadow Punches.
Energy stored on the Fortress might come in handy later, but I think it's just the mirror shot. Shadow Punch does connect, and then we're going to see another Shadow Punch come through trying to chip down this Walrein. Still 2 shields for David, though.
David very happy to absorb this debuffed damage, and since the clocks are so misaligned, he had to throw all those moves just to have an opportunity here, but he's actually going to make another one. And I do like the decision to throw an alignment here by Zardi, because David was more than likely going to throw 4 in the move. So he's kind of able to predict when David will throw and get a little bit of extra damage, but this Walrein energy is terrifying.
It absolutely is, and I think that you don't want to take you don't want to take any more damage, even hex damage on David's Walrein, so he is going to go and throw the Icicle Spear. Swap now, reaching for the Scrafty, finger on the trigger. What does Zardi decide to do?
This is such a tough call to make. Zardi counting down. In comes the Skuntank. Skuntank farming up here. We see the bait from David. Yeah, this is a tough call, and it gets the shield from Zardi.
Yeah, huge bait. You're already playing so much pressure. You know that there's a Scrafty in the back. It makes sense to throw the Icicle Spear, but it means it gets double. And that means that the counter damage is going to do a lot whenever that Scrafty comes back out.
This is unfortunate here. The Icicle Spear is going to land. In
Oh.
comes the Fortress, reaching for the Rock Tube, but it's a charge attack priority tie, and Skuntank is the one who wins it.
Actually, undercharging here as well. Zardi not giving the full strength to the crunch, but the shield goes up regardless. Rock Tomb is about to connect here as well. I don't think this is quite enough to KO, but what I'm wondering is how David plans to deal with that Hakamo in the back.
Ooh, Skuntank barely hangs on. In comes Hakamo'o. Hakamo'o gets the farm
Oh,
down mirror shot, unable to be reached. And now Hakamo'o has a lot of energy. There is quite a bit of health on the Scrafty and a shield, but the Scrafty's dry.
yeah, Scrafty's out of energy. It's got no fuel in the tank. Here comes the Dragon Claw #1. This makes a lot of sense because the Dragon Claw is a little less energy. So if you're just going to spam attacks, just go for the triple Dragon Claw.
Yeah, Dragon Claw #2 now coming through. David forced to put up the Protect Shield, and it feels like this game will be coming right down to the wire. Hakamo'o running out of HP, more and more. It's a charge attack priority tie, and Hakamo'o wins it.
Forcing the charge attack priority tie, Zardi is able to land his Dragon Claw into the Scrafty. Now he's going to make a swap into the Skuntank versus the Wall Raid. Poison Jab's not enough. Powder Snow comes through. Wall Raid is only one away, and it looks like it can't do it.
Oh my goodness. The 1 HP survive. It survives the, I didn't think it was living. It survives the Powder Snow, and Zardi escapes with a game 2 win. Oh my goodness. That game, it felt like David was ahead throughout the whole game. But man, Zardi, that Hakamo'o with the clutch. And we're going to a game #3. What a match from two incredible trainers.
Wow, Dragon Tail ended up being enough in the end. 2 Powder Snows, just one fast attack away. David had that match wrapped up until the very end. And like you said, Zardi kind of sprung right out of the trap and ran all the way to victory. So we were tied up here in a very close series. I think it's been so fascinating to see how these Pokemon are countering each other, how the Hakamo Scrafty matchup goes. That's not something that I was prepared to commentate on, but here we are in the Fortress gameplay. Of course, what's not to love about that, Henry?
Oh, in game 3, speaking of loving, I know David's loving seeing that lead right there. Scrafty into the Dusclops. And Dusclops going to choose to stay in this matchup for now. Dusclops can farm up quite a lot of energy, but it's Scrafty striking first with the foul play.
Yeah, this is really curious to stay in this matchup, but you can kind of tell that Zardi is not comfortable making a swap here. He's got a Dark Poison and a Steel Bug in the back, so no matter what he does, he's taking neutral counter damage somewhere.
And Scrafty taking advantage of the fact that the switch for Zardi there was one turn, able to outpace, make the upper hand. Upper hand is going to pressure a Protect Shield here. And now there's a switch, and Fortress is going to hit the field.
Yeah, such a tough spot to be in for the Skuntank. Gonna throw this Crunch. If it gets the debuff, it might put this Fortress within double Crunch range, but it's gonna be close. And it looks like there is no debuff, which is even more bad news for Zardi.
That is really tough. A debuff could have been very helpful because now David does not have to respect this second charge attack. This crunch will land, but this also gives an opportunity for David to farm up. And that's exactly what he's going to do. The debuff comes through here, but it's one move too late. And now, unfortunately for Zardi, he kind of just has to let the Skuntank go.
Yeah, such a good call by you as well. That is a overcharge opportunity. But now the Fortress mirror match on the field, and we know that David's Fortress doesn't have the Earthquake, so I expect no shield here from Zardi. Do we see the question in my mind is, do we see a pivot out of this Fortress after it KOs David's Fortress? Yes,
And it looks like, oh, he's going to switch now. He snipes down with the Dusclops. In comes Wall Rain. And this is going to be a very interesting game. So he did reset the attack drop on his Fortress. His Fortress doesn't have a lot of energy. It looked like he did get the one-turn bring in there, but what that allowed him to do was actually get a free Hex on the Dusclops without taking any Volt Switch damage.
Yeah, exactly right. We're going to see a Shadow Punch come through here from the Dusclops. Dusclops versus Walrein is probably the bulkiest, slowest matchup that we've had in this entire tournament. And that is, again, just massive credit to our meta team that designed this absolute spectacle of a setup. Second, a Shadow Punch connects into Walrein, and it is in the red.
Walrein Not gonna overfarm too much because look at the health bar. It's getting so low. It's just gonna look to pick up the knockout here with the Icicle Spear. I believe David has 3 residual here, and that's actually gonna be helpful. He's able to now switch into the Scrafty, and for Scrafty, it's now going to be debuffed by the Rock Tomb. David knows this is only a Rock Tomb, but you have to shield something in this game, so the shield will come out from the Scrafty, as Scrafty will look to connect with upper hands.
Yeah, this looks like 3 upper hands versus 3 rock tombs. Who gets there first and who could hang on through the fast attack pressure along the way? The upper hand coming through here will get shielded up by the Fortress. You want to shield the later ones, right? After they've been double debuffed, but I don't think Fortress can hang on through a charge attack. So you might even see a swap here, Henry, in the final moments of this matchup.
Ooh, he's letting the Rock Tomb go. He's saying
Ooh.
that he can get there because he knows the clock is not up. It was close, but not quite. And David, he's going to land the knockout blow here onto the Fortress. Down goes the Fortress. He can now switch into the Wall Rain. 1 Powder Snow snipes down the Dusclops. And David, my goodness, spectacular gameplay. Defeats Zardi 2-1. And we have an entirely Swedish winners finals, Speedy.
Galax Bolton and David, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Dude, can we just talk about the poetry of that game number 3? Because we saw in game number 2 where Zardi barely escaped with the win. The powder snow from the wall rain of David was not enough to KO his Hakamo. And then in game number 3, when his Scrafty is basically on life support, he sends in that wall rain to get the powder snow against the Dusclops and win it all. So honestly, very poetic how those 2 games ended in such similar fashions. But David corrected the ship here and he was able to win the series and advance, as you said, to that all Swedish winners finals.
The one thing I have to note is obviously in our time casting, we like to hype up the local tournament scene. It's a great way to get championship points, meet trainers. Can you imagine being a new trainer in Stockholm and showing up to your first local and there's David and Galax there? Oh my goodness.
It almost sounded like you were going to say David and Goliath, but yeah, David and Galax are both at the tournament, and they are on the Swedish side there. So yeah, I agree with you. That would be super intimidating to see that, and I can't wait to see the winners finals as well. This is going to be insane.
Yeah. I believe next, before winners finals, we are going to be going because the losers bracket has been in motion throughout the course of these games. And that means that we are actually now down to the final 4 trainers. On the winner side of the bracket, we already know who we have. We have David and Galax Bolton. And as we see here, some pretty incredible runs. Galax Bolton taking down Pokemango and Firestar, and David taking down I lost him for a sec. YYDS and Holy and Zardi. Thank you, Speedy.
Yeah, no, of course, I got your back. That's going to be very, very exciting. Galax Bolton and PvP David, 2 trainers that honestly could not have more different play styles, if you ask me. I mean, we saw Galax Bolton Leaf Tornado stuff. We've seen him play Timeout in the Championship Series. Meanwhile, David just seems so agile. His reflexes are probably top 1 or 2% of all trainers in the world. He's very fast. His brain works at a very high rate. Cannot wait to see that battle there. But we dropped Firestar earlier, right? Firestar fell to Galax Bolton 2-0, but he has continued to battle his way through that loser's side bracket. So let's see what Firestar and Mango have been up to. It looks like after Zardi fell to this matchup we just watched, he also lost to Pokemango.
So both trainers who lost to Galax Bolton are now in the losers semifinal. So at this point, we are in the top 4. All trainers remaining will be leaving with a cash prize, and we're going to be showing every match from here on out. So we have Firestar versus Pokemango. Pokemango had to take down Jocks, Existing Monkey, and Zardi. And for Firestar put an end to the tournament run of the incredible young battler YYDS and Holy. And now for a trip to losers finals, Firestar and Pokemango. They've both made great runs, but only one of them can escape this matchup with their hopes of winning still alive.
This is going to be Firestar and his Dragalge versus Mango and his Goodra, and I am ready to get into it just as soon as you are, Henry, because, man, I want to see some more Shadow Mightyena. I want to see some more Shadow Fortress, and, you know, Togetic had the highest usage of all the Pokemon in the tournament, but we haven't seen a single one battle it out on stream so far, so maybe somebody will play Togetic finally.
Yeah, it's been a bit tough for Togetic considering all of the wall rain and fortress we've been seeing. So
True.
Togetic is a cool idea, but I think it's a tough bring. But speaking of a tough situation, Shadow and Powdon staring
What?
down Fortress.
Shadow Hippowdon scares it right off the field. Mightyena counter swaps into Answer and met by a fairy type Pokemon, but don't count out the Mightyena yet because the Poison Fang is going to rock this Florges if it connects.
I really like this line from Firestar. It is a Florges bait out line. You can damage the Florges, incredible amounts of damage with the Poison Fang. And it looks like Mightyena is actually going to make a play for alignment here, as Mightyena is going to end up committing the shield.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the sucker punches after the Poison Fang. They almost KO before this Florges can even get to the Trailblaze, and that stinks something awful that he's forced to shield up the second Trailblaze. But still, getting alignment is massive here.
That 1 HP survives, so clutch for Mango. We do see Mightyena, it's managed to free up this Fortress. So Fortress is not going to have to deal with the Hippowdon anymore. In comes the Hippowdon, and Hippowdon will immediately be met with a Shadow Crunch.
Hippowdon forced to give that shield right back after Firestar invested both of his shields in his Shadow Mightyena. No defense drop triggers, but if he doesn't throw soon, this Mightyena is going to get another attack, and he's forced to throw the Weather Ball.
That's great counting from Pokemango. You don't end up in a top 4 by accident, and he shows exactly why. Even against the Shadow Mightyena, he has the counts ready. In comes Wall Rain. Wall Rain hidden for super effective damage, but Hippowdon can hit back as Weather Ball Rock will do some solid damage.
It absolutely does. Oh my goodness, it actually does almost half to the Wall Rain. We see the counter swap now, and the Fortress will come out to meet it. This is your standard Rock Tomb and Earthquake Shadow Fortress from Firestar. And meanwhile, that Wall Rain closes in on the Earthquake.
Oh my goodness. It's a ground move, but I think it got there faster than I think this is a Sand Tomb Rock Tomb. It's a double tomb.
Oh, excuse
what
me.
an interesting choice. I'll be honest. I just saw the like ground
The
thing
bubbles?
and I was like, okay, yeah, exactly. Earthquake. But then I was like, wait a second. Why did it get it in 3? The double tomb Fortress goes crazy. The Rock Tomb lands, and now things are honestly looking pretty interesting in this game number 1.
Fortress hangs on after Volt switching down the Wall Rain, and it gets the Sand Tube to boot. What an insane sequence of events for Firestar.
Oh man, the Sand Tube tech paying dividends already. He's gonna get the debuff here. In comes the Wall Raid, and Wall Raid farms down. Terrible lead. The mid game looked really tough, but the Shadow Mightyena flipping switch in the 2s, proving so impactful. And for Firestar, he's gonna be able to take this game 1 and wow, just incredibly played. I believe he actually undercharged that Rock Tomb as well. So that was just incredibly well done from him. And he's continuing an incredible run so far.
It's crazy too, because not only did he undercharge the Rock Tomb and get the final Volt Switch through, the Wall Rain did get the single Powder Snow to the Icicle Spear, but because of the debuff from the Rock Tomb, the Icicle Spear was not enough. So if anything changes in that sequence of events, it's just not going to work out. But knowing that the debuff would slow down the Wall Rain just enough is what gave Firestar the courage to undercharge there. So absolutely mind-boggling plays here from some of our best trainers in the Spice Bowl, and yeah, flipping switch to Shadow Mightyena. That's what you're getting with the Spice Bowl, everybody. You can't get there. You can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah. Even after building the meta, I don't think Shadow Mightyena was on anyone's bingo card. Really? But oh man, this is a tough lead matchup. Speedy, your boy's getting stuck onto a Swampert.
My boy comes right back out. He's bouncing back. You know, I'm playing both sides of the field here. Shadow Fortress lined up against the Wall Rain, gets to the Rock Tomb. This is absolutely going to spear this Wall Rain. I'd be shocked to not see a shield.
Mango's thinking about it. Mango actually lets it go. A pretty big surprise there. So Mango really wants shields for the Hippowdon, as potentially Hippowdon could put in some pretty solid work in the end game, but obviously Hippowdon would need those shields to hide behind, and this Fortress leaves with the Sand Tube loaded. In comes the Hippowdon, and Rock Tomb not going to do much here, but Firestar can chip away and get some debuffs.
This is so wild. Firestar says, I want the best of both worlds. I want a ground-type charge attack, but I don't want to spend all the time spinning up to an Earthquake, so give me Sand Tomb instead. First one does connect. Second one is a Rock Tomb this time.
If the Rock Tomb is able to lower the sand attack damage by 1, then maybe he can make a third Sand Tomb. I think that's probably the idea here. That actually does quite a lot, and it looks like it actually does lower it. Oh, but he's 3 away instead of 2, so he's not able to get there. But this poor Hippowdon is debuffed. He's forced to switch out, and now Swampert just looks in complete control for Firestar.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Swampert has a dominant position here against the Fortress. And if you look at the backline matchup, in spite of having double Weather Balls banked, that Shadow Hippowdon is still going to take a ton of damage from the Powder Snows and the Wall Rain. So Swampert gathering a ton of energy. Earthquake, this needs to YOLO and connect to give the Pokemon Go a chance.
Even if it doesn't. I was going to say maybe, but nah, he thought about it. But he said, nah, Swampert is too good here. Swampert already at back-to-back Hydro Cannons. It no longer has that 5-4 pacing. The Mudshot rework, it's 5-5, and it's still outpacing everything.
Yeah, I'm curious if we're going to see a Sludge BM here from Firestar, but probably not. There's still a lot of money on the line. You don't want to screw around too much. A Hydro Cannon gets fired off here, and it is going to pull away that final shield, I believe, from the Pokemon Go.
There is another Earthquake coming through, and for Firestar, he knows at this point, Swampert, he won't even get knocked out here, so he can survive this. In comes Hippowdon. There's going to be the switch into the Wall Rain. There's so much energy on the Hippowdon, but there's just not enough health for it to be able to do anything meaningful.
Yeah, I think when you consider there's still a shield in play, I mean, double Weather Ball looks like it could be close to enough. Maybe after a couple of sand attacks or maybe a single Volt Switch. But with the shield to boot, this Wall Rain just has too many defenses. It's going to be almost impossible to bring down. Third Weather Ball coming through. I misspoke.
Hippowdon surviving more Powder Snows than I expected, but this Weather Ball will barely not KO the Wall Rain. Wall Rain farms down and exits with a move, and that's just really nice fundamentals there, throwing 1 and the move, guaranteeing that little bit of extra damage with the Powder Snow as well.
Incredibly aware. We saw Firestar do that with the undercharge with his Fortress into the Wall Rain in game number 1. He does another very good timing play with that Volt Switch there at the end of game number 2, and it looks like despite all the odds, right? Despite not being a former regional champion, or despite not being from Sweden, which apparently is a huge advantage in the Spice Bowl, Firestar is able to keep his tournament hopes alive.
Well done to Firestar for the Pokemango. He exits the Spice Bowl, $250 of winnings there. So big congratulations to the Pokemango. Terrific run. And as you mentioned for Firestar, this run of a lifetime continues. He's now guaranteed top 3. So he's in the losers finals, and he'll have to await the results of the all Swedish winners finals between Galax Bolton and PvP David.
Ooh, I cannot wait. We're about to watch the neighbors of Norway throw down in Sweden with Galax Bolton and David. We're going right into it. I believe, Henry, this is going to be a best of 5. Am I correct?
It is, yes. So
right.
We have a Water Gun Lantern staring down a Wall Rain. Both Pokemon can hit each other for super effective damage with the charge moves, but the fast moves doing basically nothing. It looks like Wall Rain has the slight pacing advantage. No baits here from David, and Galax Bolton is gonna no shield.
Wow, big Earthquake connecting into that Lantern. And we see the immediate switch out now into the Dusclops, not wanting to take any charge attack damage or spend any shields on the Wall Rain. This is curious though, Henry. I mean, this Ice Punch, excuse me, is still going to deal a lot of super effective damage to the Servine.
I think this is a great call from David, understanding that the Dusclops doesn't really have any counters. So Dusclops ends up being a very effective pivot here. And now we're actually going to see the Grass Knot, a rare non-leaf tornado thrown by Galax Bolton. And there will be no shield by David, as even with the Grass Knot nuke, this is still not KOing.
Yeah, I almost wonder. I mean, you need 2 charge attacks anyway. You're going to take an Ice Punch here regardless. So I'm surprised a little bit to not see the Leaf Tornado at least first, and then the Grass Knot. But he's going to go ahead and shield, actually. And maybe he's going to fight a little bit here for Switch.
Ooh, but there's the Shadow Punch coming out. And now Galax, there's been so many moves thrown. Does he know it's the Shadow Punch? He does know it's the Shadow Punch. Great call there. But you can't really farm down as Servine, so Servine is forced to throw the Leaf Tornado. And for PvP David, he's going to be very happy to let this go, because now he can just go for farm.
Yeah, throws on alignment. I think that David could have shielded there, got the Hex through, and won control of alignment, but he'd rather just get energy on his Scrafty, facing off against the Hakamo.
And this matchup, neutral enough with Upper Hand, because Upper Hand is a pretty great charge attack. I believe it's 70 base damage for 40 energy, so it has incredible damage per energy. Upper Hand is going to be shielded, and we do see the Upper Hand debuff get applied, so the defense for Galax Bolton is now reduced.
All right, Brick Break coming through here from the Hakamo'o, but out of shields, Galax Bolton. Oh, and the swap catching onto the wall rain, it would appear. And we see the Dragon Tails landing. Brick Break number 2 coming through here, but Icicle Spear is going to devastate this Dragon type if it stays in.
And the unfortunate thing is there's all the energy in the world on the lantern, but it's not going to be enough. And he predicts it. I mean, to be fair, I believe the wall rain still had the protect shield, so it was still going to be fine. But that's a great prediction there, as the Thunderbolt is reached on 1 HP. But for David, it's a very safe shield, and this wall rain health is just not something that Galax can come back from.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. Despite all the energy in the world, Lantern just won't get a chance to use it outside of the single Thunderbolt. And now, with just a couple of HP left, Walrein is going to spear Galaxica Bolton's Hakamo'o for the Game 1 victory. I just want to talk about Galaxica Bolton and his swipes on ice types. He draws like a bow tie every time. I don't know exactly how he does it, but it's just like one of the most unique things that he does.
It was very interesting in like I believe it was one of the first seasons that the championship series existed. That was kind of back before, obviously nowadays they have like the big barriers, so you could kind of see the competitors' hands, and so he would always do these very odd bubbles. Especially it was most noticeable in the Galarian Stunfisk mirror, where he did the same weird bubbles for Earthquake and Rock Slide. So that way, if anyone tried to look, they would have no idea what he was throwing. And it's very cool to see that all these years later, he still continued to do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember there were some paranoid sequences during that era. I remember my buddy Lyndon, he would wear headphones, and then he came to the next tournament and he's wearing different headphones. I said, "What happened to the other headphones?" He says, they were too loud. I was afraid my opponents could hear the bubbles I was swiping for my moves." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" But anyways, Galaxica Bolton, definitely a seasoned trainer. And that comes back to the point we talked about earlier. PvP David having a great showing at Worlds. Obviously, a young up-and-comer versus Galaxica Bolton, a trainer that's more of like a journeyman, has played a ton of battles over the years. And they're locked in a winners finals here. Best of 5 with game number 1 just now going to David, I believe.
And the cool thing is it with this being a best of 5, this is not an elimination game. We're actually going to see a battle of some extreme bulk here, as Lantern is staring down Dusclops, and in the back we get to see the Fortress being brought by Galaxica Bolton and the Servine.
Yeah, I'm looking at Fortress Servine, and then I look across the table at Galax's team, and with that Mag Cargo, that is literally, no pun intended, a bench warmer, as it has been for him all tournament long. That Pokemon would absolutely wreak havoc, but it's not going to be in this battle here. Shadow Punch will connect into the Lantern, and as you said, Henry, this is probably like one of the bulkiest matchups that we're going to get in this entire Spice Bowl.
Yeah, this Thunderbolt not going to come anywhere close to knocking out Dusclops. Will very comfortably tank this. Dusclops still not in any real danger of getting farmed down before this next Shadow Punch. So Lantern now has a choice to make. Do you let this go? Potentially try and switch something in, get an energy advantage. For Galaxica Bolton, it feels like a bit of a crossing in the road here.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely. Lantern able to barely swim its way out of that and get to a Surf to boot, which is extremely nice value out of this bulky water and electric type.
It looks like that Surf may have been damage registration error to get it. So very lucky for Galaxica Bolton to get some damage. And that damage suddenly makes this matchup so clean for Hakamo'o, because Hakamo'o now can basically, with the Dragon Tails, knock out with one single charge move.
Upper hand coming through here into the Hakamo'o. The question now for Galaxica Bolton is, does he want HP on this Pokemon? He's thinking yes. Even if there's fast attack pressure on the other side, he wants to be able to survive long enough to get to these charge attacks. First comes the Dragon Claw.
He's going, he baits the claw. It gets no shielded. And now that a little bit of chip damage has occurred, in comes that Fortress. Fortress down a shield. But this matchup is exactly where Fortress wants to be.
We're going to see the Earthquake get fired off here immediately from David's wall ring. We've seen Fortress be able to take this in the past, and it does here as well, only dealing about half of its HP before throwing the Rock Tomb.
Rock Tomb will grab the first of David's shields. It seems like so far, one of David's strategies has been really holding onto his Protect shields until absolutely necessary, and that is going to remain true here. Unfortunately, he's so close to that Earthquake, but he's going to have to double shield to get it, and he's lost so much ground with this Wall Rain.
Yeah, no pun intended, right? Gonna throw the Rock Tomb there, and it does get shielded up, swapping out to avoid the Volt Switch damage and banking the energy. What a play by David to keep his wall rain alive.
The Walrein is alive, but unfortunately, the Scrafty was not able to make a move. Scrafty was trying to get there, but Fortress staying calm, cool, and collected. And for the Walrein, it gets the spear, but there's still the shield, which means this Volt Switch will register out of the Walrein, and that should give us an equalizer here in game number 2.
Oh my goodness. If the shield is not there, right? If the shield gets spent early on in the battle, that Icicle Spear connects, and then it had another Icicle Spear for the Hakamoa as well, which would have put this game into real contention. But what an incredible sequence of events, displacing the damage. One of my favorite plays that we rarely see these days, to be honest with you. But really fun to see him pull that off and get the win there. So yeah, like you said, tied up 1-1. This is a best of 5, everybody. So we still need to get one of these trainers to get to 3-game victories before we move on to our losers finals.
And whoever wins this game 3 is going to have a really sizable advantage. So this really feels like a very pivotal moment in this series. If you can gain that game 3 advantage, your opponent, their back's immediately against the wall. They have to win 2 in a row. The pressure mounts. So this game 3, will Galax stick with that Servine? Will he make an adjustment? It seemed like Fortress was a key in game number 2. And for David, what adjustments could he make coming off of a rare loss for him in this tournament?
Oh, off the bench and onto the field. Magcargo is out here, everybody, into the Dusclops now. And you gotta figure only neutral hexes and neutral shadow punches are the only things it really needs to fear. Meanwhile, that mean Scrafty with its counter damage is in the back, far, far away.
And Galax will throw an alignment here, just wanting to apply an immediate debuff. This could allow David to bank the energy and switch. Oh, he actually decides against it here, because it's a bit tough to try and switch into something, because I don't know if you want to save switch to Scrafty, but ideally, staying in and throwing debuffed energy, it really seems like David doesn't have a lot of great options at this exact moment.
Yeah, exactly. Not quite ABA weak, but like soft A, loss, and then kind of a real weakness in the back with that wall rain. So trying to play this carefully, patiently, chip down the opponent, and actually he's doing a good job of that. Magcargo now is going to be just barely still alive, deep in the red.
Cargo, if it wants to, should be able to do one more Incinerate the move. It looks like he's actually going to switch out here into the Lantern, and Lantern gets the snipe down, and now in comes Scrafty.
Yeah, I really like that water gun down. Recognizing your opponent's going to throw a hex, they're going to have to absorb at least 3 water guns. Knowing your damage calculations, Galax Cabolton, great play. Upper hand coming through here from the Scrafty.
We do see the shield from the Lantern. Galax has to hope there is no upper hand debuff that comes through, and there is not. And now he will look to fire off this Surf, and we will see an immediate no shield from the Scrafty. It looks like David is putting his hopes on 2 shield wall rain, understanding as well that Magcargo has a Rock Tomb banked, so one of his shields in this game is already spoken for.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think you stepped right into his shoes and called the play there. Surf going to get fired off here into the Scrafty. This will peel a shield away from PvP David, but there's still a lot of energy on this Lantern, but upper hand will come through.
And Galaxy Bolton going to choose to let this go. He is going to win or lose. It's going to be without the Lantern. Oh, Lantern actually does hang on there. There's going to switch to Hakamoa, answered with the Wall Rain. But for Wall Rain can never afford to shield in this matchup. We are going to see, it looks like a charge attack priority tie here. Dragon Claw to this Icicle Spear. And we will see the no-shield from the Wall Rain, understanding that there's a Rock Tomb. So this can never be shielded.
Yeah, you normally never see a charge attack priority versus, the two turn versus 3 turn. But after the 1 turn switch displaced it, Wall Rain lined up exactly onto that Hakamoa. And at this point, it's 4 away from the Icicle Spear, and it's able to get there first versus the Dragon type.
It's tough. You have to wonder if maybe full sending the Brick Break there for Galaxy Bolton would have been the better play, since David can't really afford to shield, whereas now he's just so low on everything. Oh, but can the Magcargo actually get to the back-to-back moves here? It's going to be very, very close. Magcargo going to fire off the Rock Tomb. Lantern still available as well. There's the switch to the Lantern. Lantern not going to get the move, and the Icicle Spear will be enough to knock out here.
Lantern got the sight down once, but it can't do it twice. And now that the switch timer is up, I fully expect the swap out now into the Scrafty at any second. Actually throwing a single Powder Snow and then going to the Scrafty to Simo KO and pick up the win. David playing out of his mind.
What a game. What a game there. That game,
Whew.
I thought it looked pretty unfortunate for David, but ending up calling that it wasn't the brick break really felt like it was the win con there. Because David, knowing there was the Rock Tomb, he couldn't afford to shield because a Rock Tomb would obviously do way more. But no shielding and having it be a Dragon Claw, that wall rain survived with only a little bit of health. So unfortunately for Galax, the decision to bait ends up backfiring there. And David now has control of this series, only one win away from Grand Finals.
The turn calculation there was so insane because if you're looking at a 5-turn Incinerate and you know damage is going to apply on turn 5, you throw 1 Powder Stone for 2 turns, you swap on turn 3, then you throw the counter on turn 4, and that counter damage registers on turn 5, the same turn when the Incinerate damage applies as well. So absolutely, like, it's just so poetic and just so clean to see those two things kind of click in together and see the damage apply there. Great awareness to get the single Powder Stone through, to send in the Scrafty for the KO, and still have your wall rain around in case you needed to come back in with it and throw another Powder Stone for the knockout.
Just great plays there. Incredible stuff from David. And now for Galax Bolton, it felt like that game 3 kind of slipped away from him. He's going to need to win 2 in a row against David, which is a tall task. But if anyone can take him down, I think his own Swedish local might be the one who might be able to pull that off.
I think so too. Again, this is a best of 5, everybody. So this might be an elimination game for Galax Bolton. He leads at Matt Cargo this time into the wall rain.
Is a great lead. We're going to see a safe switch to Scrafty, but there's no Scrafty answer on this team. He brings in the Servine, but Servine will immediately be put on the defensive as upper hand comes through. And as Galax Bolton, do you try and land a Grass Knot? Do you leave Tornado? You need 2 moves to knock out here regardless.
Yeah, I think the last point is the most important point. If you need 2 charge attacks anyway, you might as well throw the one that might get you a debuff and try to set yourself up. Leaf Tornado connects, and it does not get the debuff. Servine failing Galax Bolton here.
Oh no! It got so many debuffs for Firestar. This time, where did the debuffs go? He has a second shot at it. He's going for it into the Scrafty. There's the debuff right on cue, but the Servine has already taken a lot of damage in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the upper hand connecting plus the counter damage might prove to be overwhelming. Trying to get the 3rd Leaf Tornado here. Servine hangs on for it, and he's trying to let it get low, so it's not going to give too much farm, and he does get the 3rd Leaf Tornado after all.
And I believe this was a charge attack priority tie. David opted to let this go. Leaf Tornado is going to pick up the KO. Swampert gets a farm down. And now Swampert is going to have to be met with the Water Gun Lantern here. This is obviously a Sludge Swampert. So no like super effective Earthquake you have to worry about or anything like that. But the Mud Shot plus Sludge combination will add up quite a bit over time. There's still a good matchup for the Macargo, but down a shield, maybe Walrein can actually pull off some magic there.
Yeah, I was looking at the back line, an electric type lantern and rock fire type Mad Cargo. I said, man, we've got a ground weakness here and a pretty bad one at that. Swampert throws a sludge, and this will bring this lantern dangerously low to knockout. So we do see the shield come up.
And honestly, I think I may have even been. I don't even think that the Walrein's going to be needed here. I think Swampert could just sweep. Swampert just putting so much pressure on this lantern. I underestimated Swampert in this moment, and Swampert's just going to take the sweep here for David. As this sludge, the mud shots have added up enough. It will not be surviving, and he's going to make this double super effective Hydro Cannon, and that's going to be good night, Macargo, as David advances to top 2 and grand finals of the Spice Bowl.
Yeah, David says, go back on the bench, Mad Cargo. We'll see you later. Swampert and I will be chilling in the grand finals set. And meanwhile, Galax Bolton will fall to the loser side bracket, where I think there is one rising star that he has to get past if he wants another shot at David in the grand finals.
And that's the nice thing. Galax Bolton not out of the tournament yet. We are now going to move to losers finals. Losers finals, there's still a lot of money up for grabs. There's still a chance at first, because obviously if you win in the losers finals, you're back up in the grand finals with a chance at the full cash prize here. $1,000 if you win, $2,000 in total prizing. So everyone left is going to leave with a cash prize. But obviously each win from here on out, your money doubles. So if you win, it's not double it and give it to the next person, Speedy. It's double it and put it in your wallet at this point.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I think it's also very good practice too, because judging by the time of the year when we're having our Spice Bowl tournament, I mean, the tournaments are starting to dwindle down. We only have NAIC, the PJCS, and then it's on to Worlds. So if you want a real, tournament grade experience, taking on some of the best trainers that you will undoubtedly see at the World Championships, then this is a good place to start. So I'm excited to see what Galax Bolton can do against his opponent. And then David, again, waiting in that grand finals bracket. We are following, or excuse me, the grand finals slot of the bracket, I guess you would say. We are
Yes.
following the double elimination format. So whoever faces David has to beat him twice. And honestly, the way David's been playing, I don't know if anyone can beat him once. Nobody has yet.
David's been on an absolute tear so far. And something to note, look at round 2. That was actually the Galaxica Bolton Firestar is our losers finals matchup. Galaxica Bolton was the one who knocked him to losers. Firestar has not lost in this tournament except to Galaxica Bolton. So this losers finals match will be a bit of an opportunity for revenge for Firestar now in a best of 5 series, which before he got 2-0'd and sent down to losers.
That is such a good call. Yeah, a rematch, right? And a rematch where I really felt like Galaxica Bolton just kind of, in spite of Firestar's best efforts, just kind of danced circles around him. So we're going to have to see what happens there. Firestar did defeat the Pokemango to remain in the tournament. He won in losers round 5. So now in that losers finals with the heat of the chili pepper right underneath him, he's got to try and do his best here to stay in the tournament. And like you said, double his money, win a lot of money here in the Spice Bowl.
And one thing to note in that best of 3 series earlier was we saw 2 Leaf Tornado debuffs. They were devastating. Walrein counter-swapped into the Servine. Walrein got destroyed by that Servine. So will Galax be able to recapture that Leaf Tornado magic that proved to be so good? And a consistent theme was the Shadow Mightyena for Firestar looked so good, but it could never avoid that Hakamo'o. So if it's able to avoid the Macargo, sorry, not the Macargo, the Hakamo'o, if it's into the Macargo, that's fine. But if it ends up avoiding there, then I think, honestly, we could be potentially looking at a lot more even of a series.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was like oh my goodness, this is a heck of a way to start it. Let's just jump right into it. Mad Cargo lead into Swampert and immediately pressing the eject button into the Dusclops. Galaxica Bolton, on the back foot, and now he's on the back heel.
Oh no, this is a nightmare scenario. Galaxica Bolton has been fully line called. Firestar was in such trouble with getting line called in the first series, but now Macargo into Swampert, Dusclops getting destroyed by Mightyena, and I believe that's a Hakamo'o in the back with a Togetic to greet it. This is the first time today we have seen just unplayable alignment. Oh my goodness, what a line call from Firestar. This is just absolute devastation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mad Cargo dealing damage and trying to make a comeback as best as it can. Crunch getting fired off here by the Mightyena into that Mad Cargo. I assume you let this through, right? Mad Cargo's useless against the Swampert. Yeah. Whatever you have in the back has to win in the 2 shields against whatever they have.
That's some damage.
That is.
There's Hakamo'o, and oh no. Oh yeah, Hakamo'o enjoyers, cover your eyes, look away, and Galaxica Bolton just gonna stop tapping. That is so unfortunate there. He is running a bit of risky picks here with the Hakamo'o, with the Macargo. Obviously, if they're able to get those neutral matchups, it can do pretty well. But in this instance, Firestar with the line call, and after getting 2-0 by Galaxica Bolton earlier, he's out for revenge as he's now 1-0 in this series of 5.
And let's talk about Firestar, right? He's basically playing Togetic into a team from Galaxica Bolton that has a Thunderbolt Lantern, a Rock Tomb Mad Cargo, Rock Tomb Fortress, and Ice Punch Dusclops. And he's still running that Togetic because he knows that the Servine and the Hakamo'o are 2 of Galax's favorite picks. And he read him like a book in Game 1 of our Losers Finals.
I was normally going to say great plays, but I think here it was more so just great preparation. Understanding that what 2 Pokemon proved to be his lose cons basically in that first series. It was the Servine, it was the Hakamo'o. Hakamo'o destroying poor Mightyena, and then the Serviine And I believe it was a Servine safe switch actually that was answered by the Walrein. So this time he comes prepared for both of those options and it finds its target. So now I wouldn't be surprised to see Hakamo'o benched, but if Galax benches Hakamo'o, that opens the door for Shadow Mightyena to be very glassy but very neutral, as that's the only Sucker Punch resist available on the team.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Kind of locked between a rock and a hard place. Let's find out what happens, though. We got a Dusclops lead here from Galax Cabolton into Walrein from Firestar.
Oh my goodness, the Hakamo'o returns, and it really has to avoid that Togetic. So Galaxy Bolton staying with the Hakamo'o, but no Mightyena this time. Firestar opting to bench it, so Hakamo'o's main target is not on this line of 3.
Yeah, and whoever controls Switch in this matchup is going to have a massive, maybe just insurmountable advantage, right? Because you have that Togetic again, you have the Swampert for the potential Lantern. I mean, I don't think Galax understands he needs to win this lead here.
Yeah, not winning Switch would be an absolute catastrophe. Shadow Punch is going to land. I believe the Dusclops can hang on here and survive the Icicle Spear. Firestar, ooh, so Firestar's just going to shield. Firestar, knowing that it would not KO, he's just going to take the free Powder Snow and now potentially look to force that alignment. Because as you look across the other Pokemon for Galaxy Bolton's team, him forcing Switch works out nicely because the Togetic plus Swampert core do cover each other's weaknesses very nicely.
Ooh, this is getting interesting. Shields on both sides, going for another Icicle Spear. Is Galax Cabolton going to double down on the Dusclops, or does he want to farm it down? He's going to double down here, Henry.
Oh my, he's selling out for the Switch advantage. He knows he needs it, but if Firestar matches shields, Firestar's going to win Switch because a Hex will not knock out. Both trainers brought alignment-dependent Mons in the back, and they both know it. They're fighting for Switch. Switch advantage won by Firestar, and for Galax Bolton, things are about to get very bad very quickly as Walrein proves to be the stronger neutral tank.
Yeah, this is definitely reading like the pages of an epilogue, right? We can see the writing that's about to unfold, and now the Lantern comes in for a few water guns worth of damage, but this allows for Firestar to line up that Swampert. You got to land at least 2 sludges to get the knockout here, and I mean, nothing wants to catch a sludge in the back, especially not a Hakamo'o.
Yeah. At this point, taking a look at the team sheet, Galaxy Bolton is just saying anything but the Togetic. But unfortunately, it's going to be the Togetic awaiting him. And that's part of where the team building comes into it. If you end up running these more dynamic Mons, like we've seen a lot of neutral play throughout, but if you end up taking the risk, running something more alignment dependent, then things can get a little tough here. Oh, the Simul Switch! No! That could have been the win for Galax Bolton if he stayed in and Firestar swapped, but the Simul swap dooms him. Oh, that was almost the win con given to Galax Bolton, but unfortunately, the Simul swap dooms him. That game looked over. It almost went right back into Galaxy Bolton's court there, because if he stayed in with the Lantern, he could have Thunderbolted the Togetic, but instead, he's just getting dazzling gleamed. Down goes Lantern after one more Fairy Wind. Firestar up 2-0, and for Galaxy Bolton, it really feels like he has to bench that Hakamo'o. That Hakamo'o has been dead weight both games.
Yeah, it's just not doing him any favors at all, but he needs something on his team that's going to resist the sucker punches from the Shadow Mightyena. Otherwise, it really gets out of hand. So I don't know. He's got some pretty tough choices to make going into game number 3 here. This actually could be decisive. If Firestar is able to win, he will eliminate Galax Bolton from the tournament and move on to that grand final stage. But this is still a best of 5, so there's still a little bit of time to see exactly how things unfold. But yeah, I mean, if you give up your best, resist for dark types, then that Mightyena is just going to be a total menace to your team, right?
And that's where does Firestar decide to bring the Mightyena and just assume that if Hakamo'o was on Togetic twice, Galaxy Bolton has to make the adjustment, right? But then there's kind of the mind games of, does Galaxy Bolton say he thinks I have to? I'm just going to keep running Hakamo'o, and he's eventually going to bench the Togetic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the team. I mean, I guess you could offer something like Fortress that's only going to take neutral damage from the sucker punches and the crunches. Matt Cargo, I think, is a nice play, but when you, again, consider the Swampert on Firestar's side, it's hard to bring that pick as well. Yeah, Galax Bolton's in a really tough spot, if you ask me.
Yeah, needing 3 in a row, back very much against the wall here. So any potential wins that he can claw his way to help ease the pressure will be good, because this is it. He needs to win 3 in a row. He needs a reverse sweep. We've seen them in the competitive series. They're unlikely, but they can occur.
I would love to see some Dragalge play as well from Firestar. Let's see what he decides to do. We've got the Togetic lead this time into the Fortress. Galax Bolton trying to pin the Fairy type down.
Oh my, but this is an interesting line from Firestar. Firestar is intentionally trying to lure out Hakamo'o to let the Swampert sweep. So even though this is negative alignment for Firestar, this game isn't necessarily over because he is running an ABB line. He does get the email from Spirit Airlines as well, maybe trying to book his NAIC flight potentially. And now we're going to see the Hakamo'o unleashing this Dragon Claw and knocking out the Mightyena.
Mightyena faints there, not having too much of an impact, but like you said, its impact might not be in terms of HP damage. It might be in terms of alignment and controlling the pacing of the battle. Waiting down the switch timer as well before coming in with the Togetic.
Togetic going to get a really nice farm. Tried to get the break, but the Fairy Wind did pick up the KO. In comes the Fortress, the switch into the Swampert. And Galax staying in here. Oh, he's rock tubing. This desyncs the switch timers, but this does mean that Firestar, he decides to shield the rock tomb to preserve health, understanding that it could be the lantern in the back. But obviously, it's a very tough spot to be in. You don't want to shield the resisted move, but if you let it go, you're getting water gun down.
Yeah, I like the debuff for that reason, right? Because now the water guns are applying even more pressure. Instead of just 2 sludges for the knockout, you're going to need 3. So this Swampert's in a tough spot. Togetic is not going to be much help. And as you pointed out as well, the switch timers are slightly displaced by about 10 seconds or so. So if that Togetic comes back out, or 15 seconds or so, Togetic comes back out, it needs to make an impact quickly.
Yeah, once that debuff occurred, this kind of felt like it was game, because we've seen Swampert be able to pull off some miracles by sludge plus 2 sludges and the mud shots knocking out. But with that debuff, it completely threw off the math. And for Firestar, what should have been a winning endgame suddenly was not. And now Fortress is going to be able to slam the door on game number 3, as Dazzling Gleam is not a move that Fortress cares about, but Rock Tomb will devastate Togetic.
Oh, Dazzling Gleam does such a disappointing amount of damage. Single Volt Switch converting that into the Rock Tomb. This is not quite enough to knock out, but I do think 1 or 2 Volt Switches afterwards will get the trick done. Then meanwhile, Togetic is slowed down even more. Does it get to the next Gleam? It does, which is nice. But again, Fortress, it's such a steely potato. Just look at it.
Yeah, Dazzling Gleam will not KO. Fortress tanking that very comfortably. In comes the Swampert. The Rock Tomb is reached. Needed the farm down to have a chance. And unfortunately, the farm down was not to be, because if he throws the move, then Galax can just let it go and water gun down. But in this instance here, still with the shield to hide behind is Lantern. So Lantern will get the water gun down. And for Firestar, I have to imagine that Togetic, it paid off twice, but it really backfired there. We do see the back-to-back moves reached here. And if the Fortress was in double mudshot range, then he might be able to steal it. But Lantern survives, and Fortress could have survived as well. Man, those debuff sludges do nothing. My goodness.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. I was like, man, Sludge surely will be enough here, right? This will be enough to KO. And Lantern hangs on and just, basically grabs the gauntlet like Thanos and says, I'll do it myself. Water guns down that Swampert to win the battle and hopefully get Galax back in this series, because it's been really tough. Firestar, despite having his Swampert matched up against a Steel Bug and a Water Electric type in the back, just didn't have the bulk, didn't have the energy or the shields to get what he needed. And on top of that, as you pointed out, Henry, the debuffs. Every time Swampert came out, it just got nerfed right into the ground, and it just really could make no impact.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him still bring the Swampert, but maybe this time, maybe lead it, because that way, if you're in you don't end up in a spot where you're switch locked and debuffed, because that was kind of the lose con there, was being switch locked and debuffed. So if he brings it, I wouldn't be surprised to see it on the lead, where that way, obviously, you can outpace a Fortress and apply Hydros and really pressure them, as opposed to an end game where you end up debuffed and just not able to do any damage to a Lantern.
I really want to see the Dragalge for Firestar. I mean, you've got a Lantern with Water Gun, you've got Magcargo and Servine. So basically, you're
That's
up against
fair.
the three elementals, as they call them, and you could still trade Dragon Tails back and forth with that Hakamo'o. So I would really love to see that Pokemon. I think it's got a ton of neutral play, but we have seen as well the Dusclops and Fortress are two Pokemon that Galax really relies on. So those might be making a return appearance. So I think the Swampert is probably safer, to your point, but the Dragalge is just so much more cool. Come on.
Yeah, the Dragalge is very cool. Oh my
Oh
goodness,
my
they keep
goodness.
running it. They keep running it. Togetic into Hakamo. We keep expecting them to go safe, and they're not going safe at all. But this Lantern save switch is a little bit uncomfortable here. We already see the Dazzling Gleam launched by the Togetic, and Lantern is going to commit the shield as Firestar has now desynced the timers. But we just keep assuming they play it safe, and they keep risking it here. And now in comes the
Whoa.
Walrein.
Walrein into Lantern. Really? You've got a Swampert in the back and Firestar goes Walrein instead? I don't know. What do you think he's cooking? Do you think he's like predicting something in the back that Walrein's going to be weak to? Maybe the Servine or something? I don't even know.
I'm wondering if he thinks it's the Fortress by chance.
Ah,
Because he is already ABA weak to the Fortress with this line. So if the Fortress is in the back, he has to be very, very careful. We will see the shield come out on the Earthquake. Galax knows he has to force alignment here. I mean, alignment isn't instantly game winning, but it just puts him in a significantly better spot overall. He's going for a bait, and he will get the Protect Shield from the Walrein.
nasty plays by Galax. And to your point, I do think that the Fortress call makes a ton of sense. Aiming for the Thunderbolt, it's in his sights, but the Walrein does get to the Earthquake first. This is going to deal a lot of damage. I don't know if it knocks out, though, Henry. I think it's close.
Earthquake has since been nerfed, but not nerfed
Oh!
enough. It KOs, and that is disastrous for Galaxica Bolton. He can't really afford to send in the Hakamo'o. He sends it in, and he's just getting Togetic. And this is where the battlers just stuck with these RPS picks like throughout every series but this, as he's just gonna stop tapping. We saw battlers opt for more of the flexible ones, but in this matchup, they continued to try and force pressure with these RPS picks, and unfortunately it just ended up backfiring.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that a lot of times when you have core breaker after core breaker just kind of, meshing together in a team, it can create some unintended gaps. And that's exactly what we've seen here from the compositions. I mean, the Mightyena has served Firestar really well. Togetic, a Pokemon he didn't lean on a lot until this series. And Galaxica Bolton, just really, really tough to answer all the different ways that Firestar is threatening his team here. So big farm down. You could see Galax already messaging Firestar. He said GG's before the game was already over. He put his phone down and reached for the keyboard. He says, man, I'm out of it. I'm happy with third place. I'll take my prize money and I'll go home very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so Galaxica Bolton finishing in third place, much to be proud of. $250 in winnings. And for Firestar, at minimum, he just doubled his money. Because now in grand finals, winner gets 1,000, second place gets 500. So at minimum, he's walking away with $500, but he will have a chance at the grand prize here of $1,000.
Wow. I'm really, really excited to see which trainer takes it all. Takes $1,000 into their pockets, thanks to our generous sponsors, Rio and PV Poke. I do want to shout out to Rio as well for bringing you and I together, Henry, because it was really their idea to kind of create a special format where these elite trainers could play Pokemon that they never play at Championship Series events, and just see how good they really are, reaching deep into their bag, playing things like Shadow Mightyena or Hakamo'o or Servine. I mean, this is just an absolute showcase, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it with you.
Yeah, it has been very fun watching these battles play out. We've had some incredible battles, and I'm excited to see what the grand finals will hold for us. Because David's been on an absolute tear, and he only has to win one best of 5 series. Whereas for Firestar, he has to win 2 because he's coming from the loser side of the bracket.
Exactly. So a lot of work for Firestar, but if he can keep on making these line calls like he did against Galaxica Bolton, I think he's got a good shot. We've seen a lot of grand finals resets happen very quickly. Maybe it's like a 3-0 early on or a 3-1 when one trainer is just on fire. But we'll see if Firestar, no pun intended, everybody, sorry for the dad joke. We'll see if Firestar has what it takes to keep heating things up and to keep making the right calls, because I think that's going to be important.
Agreed. And it looks like we have lock-ins for game number 1. It's going to be that Shadow Fortress staring down Scrafty. And this Shadow Fortress here is a Shadow Fortress that is running Sand Tomb. So in this matchup, not an ability to output a lot of damage. Oh, there's a catch attempt. He waits the turn.
Oh.
He doesn't get the catch. And Togetic is punished by Wall Rain.
Wow, the patience by David as well to bring in the Wall Rain, answering for the Togetic. This is a Pokemon that was really good for Firestar in that last set against Galax Cabalton, but it might not have that same utility against this team from David.
Yeah, even if it was met with the Wall Rain, it would have been fine if he got that catch, but the patience from David is what makes this such a tough spot for Firestar, because he's still going to have to deal with that Scrafty energy. The Scrafty energy was not appropriately neutralized.
Yeah, exactly. There's still too much to deal with in that sense. Icicle Spear coming through here will be able to get the KO into the Togetic. No sweat, no problem for the Wall Rain. It still has a lot of HP left, but the overcharge here, the 2 Volt Switches, I really appreciate. Actually going for 3 before throwing energy. He's already at max. He's just looking for the farm down at this point.
Just trying to leave with as much energy as possible. This Icicle Spear, while it's resisted, it's a Shadow Fortress. It's running out of health rather quickly here. The Rock Tomb, it's charge attack priority. Scrafty is going to win that.
Exactly. A foul play will peel away that shield because I don't think that Firestar wants to lose that fortress anytime soon. Going to go and fire off that Rock Tomb here against the Scrafty, but I think at this point you're at the risk of getting countered down. Maybe he throws the back-to-backs here. Let's see. No, swaps.
The switch to Swampert, but Scrafty can make the upper hand, and this just puts David in such a commanding position. He has his own Swampert in the back. Upper hand will be big damage, and on top of that, there's also the chance at the debuff. Upper hand, no debuff comes through, but honestly, in this convincing of a position, the debuff not even needed to secure victory here.
Yeah, exactly, because he was able to put the opposing Swampert within single Hydro Cannon range. So in spite of the energy, in spite of the shield, in spite of all the other factors, when you just look at the raw HP numbers, this looks really, really desperate for Firestar.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a way out of this game. Swampert and Scrafty, both so good into his fortress. His unique choice of moveset, running the Sand Tomb, paid off dividends so many times. But in this particular matchup against the Scrafty, it means that Scrafty and Swampert as a pairing is incredibly free into this team.
Exactly. Hydro Cannon coming through here. This is going to be more than enough for David's shiny Swampert to bring down Firestar's Swampert. And it looks like the final Pokemon, the Fortress, or excuse me, yeah, final Pokemon Fortress coming out. Sand Tomb getting fired off here, Henry. So we're going to get one more little treat of this spicy moveset from Firestar.
Sand Tomb will be knocking out the Swampert, but for David, he knows he just doesn't have to shield the Swampert. He's going to be able to send back in the Scrafty. Scrafty still with the Protect shield to hide behind, and Scrafty is going to be able to get a nice farm down here and be able to take the game. One more counter should do it, and that's a game 1 win for David.
Yeah, in spite of the debuff there, it's still enough to pick up the KO with that counter damage. And what an incredible showcase already from David. It's one of those things where I felt like Firestar was really finding his momentum against Galax Cabalton. He was doing all the right things, making great reads, team calls, etc. But then PvP David just comes in and does the same thing he's done all tournament long. He doesn't waver, he doesn't wobble, he's very steady with his approach, and he doesn't get flustered. He's in the grand finals, and to me, it looks like he's playing round 1. He's playing loose, he's playing fast, he's playing confidently.
Yeah, great plays throughout. I really like the pick of the upper hand Scrafty. I think the only other Scrafty we saw was actually a Power Up Punch variant, but opting for that newer moveset and that a bit of an anti-meta pick has paid some pretty significant dividends.
Scrafty has been insane, right? Especially in the matchups where David would face a Wall Rain user. His Scrafty is just so instrumental. It's such a punish for any kind of ice type that tries to switch in, and it looks good for him here. Looks good for him here as well, because there is not only the Wall Rain but also the Shadow Mightyena and the Shadow Fortress. All 3 of those are prime targets for Scrafty.
Yeah, Scrafty, it's really tough. We're going to see Scrafty. Oh, now staring down Dragalge. So there's the Dragalge you wanted there. Dragalge actually, Dragalge joins the field of play, and it finds a target here. So this is looking a lot better for Firestar.
Exactly. Well, Firestar is saying, look, I tried to lead Togetic in game number 1 to catch that Scrafty and give myself a chance, but it put me too far behind. Let me play something more neutral, more nuanced, that can kind of stay in the matchup, and that is the Dragalge. Staying in here against the Swampert, though, looks really tricky. He doesn't really have a solid answer outside of this pick.
Yeah, Ren very weak to Swampert, and this is going to be an issue here. Aqua Tail does do a decent amount of damage. We are going to see the Sludge launched at the Dragalge here. It was actually on alignment there, predicting Firestar to throw right away, but Firestar just takes the free Dragon Tail, and this Dragon Tail is going to add up even more, and Firestar, if he wants to, should be able to shield, force alignment, and forcing alignment would actually be really, really good for Firestar, as that way, Scrafty is going to get aligned onto that Togetic anyway.
I'm so glad you said that. The mud shots are adding up though, and this Dragalge is getting really weak. David realizes that he needs to take control of switch advantage, so he's going to go ahead and shield. Can he get the knockout though in the midst of the double dragon? Excuse me, the double mud shots. Yes, he can.
I think Firestar, if he wanted alignment there, he had to commit to the farm down. By throwing, he gave a mudshot sneak, and that meant that David now actually controls switch advantage. So a bit of a misplay there. We do see the farm down by the Fortress, but Fortress is going to be answered with Scrafty. In comes the Togetic. Togetic answered with the Wall Rain. Togetic, it's up a shield. It is also going to be up energy too, and it's going to need it because this Wall Rain is a big problem.
And this is where knowing your damage calculations is so important, right? I don't think 2 Psyshocks will do it. I think a Dazzling Gleam plus a Psyshock is close to enough, but this is a regular Wall Rain. It's not Shadow. It might not be enough. So we're going to see if Firestar can kind of claw his way back into this series. I don't know, Henry. He might need two Dazzling Gleams, judging by the damage.
Oh, the Captai here. Psyshock, it's a really good move. It's 70-40, but it does not get same type of attack bonus. I don't know if Psyshock's going to be enough here, and I don't think it is. And now it's so low. This Psyshock coming out, he needs it to knock out here. If it doesn't knock out, if any more fast moves land, this is a huge problem. It does not KO. Needed the Gleam. There's the switch. The Volt Switch didn't register. The switch out by David, and now he's going to be firing off a Sand Tomb into the Scrafty.
Yeah, this is going to come down to the last second in terms of this game. Sand Tomb does debuff as well, which is a huge boon here for Firestar. He's going to get to another Sand Tomb. Hold on, Henry. I think he can do it.
Does this knock out? Sand Tomb never does a lot of damage, but the Sand Tomb debuff did apply. Oh, Scrafty hangs on. It's going to get the upper hand. This will set up a reverse farm for the Togetic, but with the defense at -2, Togetic normally would get 2 Fairy Winds. I think it might only get 1, and that would leave Togetic short of a move. Oh, it still gets 2, but I don't think it's living the Powder Snows.
It's got to hang on through one power. So it does get a nice shock. Firestar clutches it up with the Togetic, the Pokemon that was failing him until this point, comes through in a shining moment to keep him in this series and tie things up 1-1.
Oh my goodness. I did not trust. It got there. I think he could have made his life a lot easier if he just committed to the Gleam, the second Gleam versus that Wall Rain, because Psyshock, it's a great move, but Togetic is very underwhelming in terms of the damage that it outputs. It's a lot more bulk oriented. So it got really close. I didn't necessarily see a path, but he figured it out.
Well, not only committing to that, but also committing to the Dragon Tail through the Swampert. Like you said, throwing that Aqua Tail meant that an additional turn of energy went through, and that extra Mudshots worth of damage was the difference maker in controlling switch advantage. So again, making your life easier by doubling the Gleams, make your life, sitting by the beach drinking Mai Tais easy if you maintain control of switch advantage and line your Togetic up against a Hakamo-o.
Yeah, Togetic, it feels very feast or famine here. Looks like in our next match, we're going to have Swampert. Oh, it looks like we're going to get back to that match in a second there. But a bit of a sneak peek, a pretty neutral lead, which I always like to see. Swampert into Scrafty can go multiple ways. Scrafty obviously very bulkier than the Swampert, but at a pacing disadvantage. Whereas it's stuck going for upper hand, whereas the Hydro Cannon is going to be a lot more dynamic, a lot faster.
Yeah, I like that we have the Swampert lead trying to catch the Fortress or the Lantern, and then we've got the opposing lead, trying to catch its own targets and not exactly finding them. But at least Scrafty gets to avoid Togetic in this next game, which is nice for it. That's nice news.
Yes, I'm honestly hoping for a bit of a Togetic free game because it seemed very feast or famine. Like, I know it was the top usage mon, but man, it is either hard countering or it's getting hard countered. And I tend to prefer matchups where there's more flexibility in the mons. And it looks like we have no Togetic here. We're going to have Swampert staring down Scrafty, a double water backline for David, and Wall Rain and Dragalge for Firestar.
Oh yeah, I see the Dragalge, and then I look across the field and I see a Swampert and a Walrein. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. Scrafty is going to be forced to drink that Hydro Cannon down as it does connect, and we're going to see the upper hand get fired off here.
This does a lot of damage. Swampert can survive not particularly well. We are going to see the no shield. Does the debuff come through here on upper hand? It does not. That is David catch here. No catch from David. David's just going to let this go, and now David will use this as an opportunity. Instead of catching, he's sacrificing this Crafty to set up farm. This could be a nasty Swampert farm down. That's what he's going for. In comes the Swampert. And does he make the read to go Dragalge? Dragalge does wall the damage. He does go Dragalge, and this is important.
Yeah, very nice. I was kind of curious there if you would see the swap out from Firestar, but instead he feeds the opposing Swampert 3 extra mud shots. So even though you're resisting all these charge attacks, I gotta say, if that Swampert gets to triple Hydro Cannons, I don't think anything survives that.
We're going to see another Hydro Cannon coming through. This is going to be getting this Dragalge deep into the red. Dragalge can hang on here, but it's not going to be by much. Do we see the catch attempt from David here? No, he switches into the Walrein. Walrein going to be behind here as Swampert immediately cranks up the pressure here, continuing to fire off these sludges.
And the bad news is that it's Firestar. If you try to throw the Icicle Spear, you might get caught on, but he immediately switches into his own Walrein. A staple of Meta's past is a staple of the Spice Bowl, as Earthquake does get fired off and shielded.
Ooh, no bait coming through. Those old Walrein metas, it came down to who was brave enough to call a bait, who could full send, but in this instance, the full send gets shielded. Firestar already behind. The health advantage here for David just feels absolutely overwhelming. Firestar might feel like he has to call a bait to get back in this game, and he does! He no shields, Earthquake connects. That was basically his only way back. If he ends up shielding Earthquakes, he loses every single time. His only way back is hoping that David goes for a bad bait. But David, he knows better. He's been here before. He's won a regional championship. He is well-versed. He's not going to be making those mistakes. So he full sends. Firestar hopes he does, but David's not going to let that happen.
Sometimes you just have to keep things simple, right? You could try to get more high finesse and start throwing icicles to your baits and trying to anticipate things and dance around your opponent, or you could just keep applying pressure, keep throwing those earthquakes, and just hope that your opponent blinks first. And that's exactly what Firestar did there. So this could be an elimination game for Firestar. Again, this is the grand finals. David's on the winner's side. Firestar, coming from that loser side, needs to win not only this set, he also needs to win another best of 5, and he's already down 2-1. So David might be 1 win away from becoming your Spice Bowl champion, everybody. I need to see you active in the chat. Who you're rooting for?
Yeah, this is a tough spot to be in for Firestar, but the leads look very neutral. Dusclops into the Swampert. I would usually favor the Swampert here because Swampert just has the way better moves. Like Hex has really good pacing, but Dusclops never does any damage to anything. We'll take a look at the back. He's brought back the Togetic, but Scrafty is nowhere to be seen. And that immediately, I would say, gives an early advantage to David with the team compositions.
Yeah, it might feel like Togetic's showing up to the party and no one else is there, but let's see. 9 mud shots coming through here from the Swampert. Got the 8th one there off of some solid timing against the Dusclops. Fires the first Hydro Cannon. We'll get to the second Hydro Cannon here really quickly, but the Shadow Punch is even faster.
Shadow Punch going to be grabbing a shield. David did throw an alignment there, so he's conceding a free mud shot in exchange for applying the first shielded decision of the match onto Firestar. Now, Firestar will get to farm up here, and again, he's going to be at 9 mud shots. So if David decides to shield, David will have the ability to undertap and then potentially pressure another shield. But he's actually just going to let this go and send out the Walrein. And for Firestar, considering what he has in the back, this is not what you're hoping to see at all. David continuing to stick to this double water strategy, and with no grass type on the field like Alexa Bolton has, double water feels so free here.
Oh, anticipating, the sludge actually coming through here, and David's not doing a thing about it. He's putting it all on the back of his Swampert, and then his Walrein will have energy carrying into this next matchup, even though it's low in terms of HP. Oh, now making the switch to get the single butt shot snipe.
Oh, this is bad. This is bad, Speedy. Oh my goodness. He now knows he's in trouble. There's so much energy on the Walrein. That covers anything that could potentially be in the back. Walrein generally favored in a Swampert, but it's down energy here. It's down a shield. And honestly, this might be the swan song for Firestar.
It might be. Things are looking a little bit grim here. Icicle Spear gets shielded up by the Swampert of PvP David. It's his last pick. It's his primary partner Pokemon for a reason. Gonna look for another Icicle Spear here and apply pressure. But I'm looking at the counters, Henry. I'm looking at that Sludge energy, and I am scared for Togetic in the back.
I think Togetic's going to have a very bad day here very shortly. Live by the Togetic, die by the Togetic. And it seems like in this game, it's going to be dying by the Togetic, Speedy, as there is 2 Icicle Spears loaded on this Walrein. And that's going to be absolute disaster.
Absolute disaster. Here comes the Togetic. Sludge coming through. Firestar has to allow the first one to connect. We know there's energy on the Walrein in the back. Sludge takes that Togetic down into the yellow. Here comes the Walrein. This might be it. This might be the closing sequence, Henry.
Walrein had the Earthquake banked, which means it should be 1 off of the next Icicle Spear here. Togetic trying to get to a charge attack, but it's 1 short. It will not get there. And PvP David is our Spice Bowl champion.
Wow, Sludge, Icicle Spear, Earthquake, all kinds of pressure coming out of this team for PvP David, and he kept the pressure on the entire tournament long. Congratulations to our champion, PvP David from Sweden, as he wins it all, sweeping the bracket in the first inaugural Spice Bowl.
And he's going to be taking home a cool $1,000. Which is a pretty great price for a community run tournament. Again, massive thank you to our sponsors. And on top of that, this is money that since he's a competitor, he can potentially use to offset his travel to Worlds, to future regional championships. And for Firestar, amazing run there. And he is going to be taking home $500, which is incredible. And I believe he mentioned that if he ended up placing the money, he was going to use that to help offset his NAIC travel. So this is not the last we're seeing of Firestar, as he will be attending NAIC coming up here in just a few short weeks.
Firestar is one of those trainers where you see them perform like this, and you just have to start looking for their name in the bracket next time you attend a tournament. You see, how is Firestar doing? Are they in the running? Are they top cutting? Are they on the verge of winning? I think he's got what it takes to go the distance. PvP David sweeping this winner's side bracket after taking down YYDS and Holy, and then Zardi, and then his fellow Swede in Galax Cabolton before facing Firestar. Looking at this board here, PvP David never dropped more than a single game in these sets, which is absolutely stellar.
Wow. Incredible, incredible run from David. David just absolutely blitzing through the competition there. Yeah, even in the best of 5 series, both 3-1s. So just brilliant gameplay from David. I really liked the fact that of all the Pokemon, it really felt like Scrafty and Swampert were the 2 Pokemon that shined for him the most. Swampert, we know, pretty dependable even in the Open Grade League right now, but Scrafty, a Pokemon that doesn't see a lot of use, and that was one of the goals of the Spice Bowl, is being able to open the door for these Pokemon that have been power crept. Like, there's not really a need for a Scrafty when you have a Pangoro that's launching close combats every 10 turns and lightning fast, but when you ban that, and you ban a lot of the stuff that beats it, then suddenly a Pokemon like Scrafty can emerge as a very cool meta contender.
And honestly, chat was so funny when we were starting the stream. They said banning Machoke was insane. If you look at the team for Firestar, he had a Walrein, a Swampert, a Shadow Mightyena, and a Shadow Fortress. All 4 of those Pokemon, I think, are under direct threat from a Karate Chop, Dynamic Punch, Shadow Machoke. All right? So we have our reasons, chat. We did this for a reason, and I think we did the right thing.
Machoke had to die, chat. Machoke had to die. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look, I know there are Machoke fans watching. But Choke had to die. Again, massive, massive shout out to our sponsors. PV Poke, I know y'all know the website, but I'm putting it in chat anyway. If y'all don't have this website bookmarked, do it. It is the best resource for any battler. It helps you build teams. It helps you see rankings. It can help you check out certain CMP ties. Like I do plan on at some point this summer making a full second channel video going over the hidden parts of PV Poke that the average player doesn't know about. Like how to check, like I bet the average person watching here may not know how to check in a matchup, not just fast move breakpoints, charge move breakpoints. Like, can you do 1 extra play rough damage in a matchup with a little bit of extra damage and stuff like that? And
Wow.
Firestar says PvPoke helped him build his team for the Spice Bowl himself. And also another massive thank you to Rio, our secondary sponsor, for having this idea and bringing us together, because this has been an absolute blast. And I love getting to watch some good battles, and I feel like that's what we got today. Massive congratulations to David, and congratulations to everyone in our top 4. Firestar in 2nd place, Galax Bolton in 3rd, and of course our good friend, the Pokemango, for taking 4th.
Yeah, again, I just want to echo your sentiment. Shout out to Rio. This whole thing started with a simple email, a request, and of course, a very, very generous contribution to our PvP community. We couldn't do it without you. I know a lot of trainers watching love to see this kind of content, so we appreciate you all coming out and supporting it. Even if you're just watching, typing comments in chat, it means a lot to us. It lets us know that you want to see it, and it lets us know that we should make more of it. And speaking of more of things, Henry, if people want to watch your video on the hidden features of PvPoke, I believe that would be on the More Slice Henry channel. Is that correct?
It would, yes. I do have a 2nd channel. I'm very secretive about it. I don't advertise it because I've liked seeing it grow organically. But that's where I make educational content, and it's more Show 6 focused. So we delve into the championship series. It also is just more creative style videos that I don't feel fit on the main channel. Like for a sub goal, when they reached it, I drove to a cave and then played using cave Pokemon and had to win with cave Pokemon.
Dude, that's honestly freaking awesome. Like, I don't know. I want to see that kind of stuff. I don't know about you, chat. If you want to see it, you should go over to the other channel as well. One final shout out I wanted to make, Henry, is shout out to Miss Mystic running production for us. Really, really grateful for that. I thought it was a fantastic, buttery smooth show.
Absolutely. Big, massive thank you. We absolutely couldn't have done it without Miss Mystic. So we are very, very grateful. And yeah, we getting to do community run tournaments and stuff like that is something that we've had a bit of an absence of since Sylph is gone. And I feel like being able to do stuff like this periodically could be really cool, because it throws something new at good trainers, and I like that. And it's part of why I like the fact that we actually have a pretty healthy sized move update here, because for a while, the June, it was like, well, we're keeping the meta stable for the best players for Worlds. And now it's like, if you're the best, figure it out.
Yep,
we gave these battlers 72 hours to figure out this meta, and they did. So I am incredibly excited to see with these changes coming up here. And I bet you're especially excited after seeing that Fortress ranking. Come on, Speedy, talk to me.
The boy is back. The boy is back. What can I say? All signs point to Bug Bite looking more like Dragon Breath in terms of damage, which is going to shred through Malamars. It's going to shred through Grumpix. It's going to absolutely annihilate grass types even more than it did in the past. And plus the typing, you saw it in this tournament, everybody. It's surprisingly bulky. It can take a Wall Rain Earthquake and only lose half of its HP. It's absolutely monstrous, and I want to see it succeed. Something else I'm looking forward to, Henry, is actually Fury Cutter Metang. I think that is going to be a real contender, especially when you consider that Steel subtyping. I mean, it's going to flip so many matchups against water types, and the Fury Cutters are going to do all the same things that Bug Bite does, right? Just shred through the Psychics and Darks.
That'll be an interesting one. I do have a rank 2 Metang already built. It doesn't have return, but it is already built. So hopefully it ends up being decent, and hopefully it doesn't end up needing return. So
you got Psyshock Gyro Ball. I mean, that's good. Right?
Yeah, that's playable enough. I am a little sad that there's a lot more Malamar counters, because this season Malamar beats everything, and that's how I hit 3,500, was because Shadow Malamar just doesn't lose to things. But so I'm a little sad it'll have counters next season, but surely we will figure out the next broken thing. Like last season it was Shadow Annihilate, this season is Shadow Malamar. So we'll just have to work through the meta and figure out what the next OP mon is.
Exactly right. Well, Henry, it's been a great experience. This tournament was awesome. Thank you so much for all your hard work that went into it. And again, shout out to our production team, Miss Mystic. And yeah, all of you that came out to watch it. We appreciate our sponsors so much. We need more prize tournaments in the community to keep things alive, to keep people interested, to keep them excited, right? Instead of just seeing the same Pokemon over and over again, we need to see variety, because there's so much depth to this game. And with the recent balance changes over the past year or so, we've seen so many more things kind of edge their way into relevancy. So seeing a meta like this has just been really an incredible treat and incredible reward. So yeah, Henry, I don't think I have much else to say except thank you to everyone who's involved.
Yeah. Big thank you to our meta team. Big thank you to everyone who helped with this. Big thank you to everyone watching. I believe we peaked at 500 viewers, which for me not announcing this stream and having it just happen, pretty fucking sick if I say so myself. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The home slice community is insane. Love you guys. We appreciate all of you so much.
All right. I think that'll do it. Yo, we got Liam, gifted a channel member to Champion Mickey. Thank you so much, Liam. I appreciate you. And yeah, I think that is going to do it for us. Big congratulations to everyone who placed in the money. Y'all played brilliantly. Thank you to everyone who helped. Thank you to Speedy for helping do a ton behind the scenes. Thank you to Miss Mystic for also doing a ton behind the scenes. Everyone who helped create the meta. Everyone who even just retweeted the tweet to get the info out there, because this was a lot of fun. And we're hoping to do something like it again in the future.
Hope so. All right, Henry. It's been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for everything.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.